This is the must-watch fantasy anime of the year. Within just 15 minutes of airing, its online popularity exceeded 300 million views. This is Solo Leveling, an incredibly thrilling fantasy anime. In a world where everyone's level is predetermined by birth, the protagonist, Sung Jinwoo, is granted the ability to level up infinitely by the system, but he refuses to be manipulated by the system, kills it with his own hands, and becomes the great shadow monarch among the 9 great rulers. With a wave of his hand, he can summon the Shadow Legion capable of destroying the world. However, at the beginning of the story, he was merely known as humanity's weakest hunter. 10 years ago, portals connecting to other dimensions suddenly appeared on Earth. A small number of humans awakened abilities and became hunters. And hunters could enter dungeons through these portals to obtain magic crystals. Even a magic crystal from a C-rank magic beast is worth more than 60,000 gold coins. Sung Jinwoo also successfully awakened his abilities, but he was the weakest E rank. And from that day on, he seemed cursed. No matter how simple the dungeon raid was, he would always get injured and hospitalized. Although he hated this dangerous profession to pay for his mother's expensive hospital bills, he could only work as a hunter who traded his life for money. Today was the day he and his companions agreed to raid a D-rank dungeon. After everyone assembled, they entered the dungeon. Sure enough, as soon as they entered the dungeon, Sung Jinwoo broke his leg from a simple fall. His friend Ji immediately healed him and asked with concern why he didn't give up being a hunter. Sung Jinwoo could only awkwardly use boredom as an excuse to hide his poverty. Meanwhile, after his teammates' bloody battle, the magic beasts were quickly eliminated. Sung Jinwoo also received an E-rank magic crystal. Just as everyone was preparing to leave, they unexpectedly discovered a double dungeon. Through investigation, they could confirm there was a boss inside the dungeon. Once they chose to raid it, they had to defeat the boss to exit through the portal. At this moment, Captain Song, blinded by greed, didn't want to report to the association. He wanted to privately raid the boss for the reward. So, he had everyone vote on whether to go or not. With Ji abstaining from the raid, the vote was now tied 8-8. So, Sung Jinwoo's final vote decided everything. At this moment, he thought about his mother's hospital bill due this month, and he had no savings left. So, Sung Jinwoo chose to continue the raid for his family. On the way to the boss room, Sung Jinwoo kept apologizing to Ji. After hearing this, Ji looked at Sung Jinwoo kindly, saying she didn't mind the result at all. "If you really want to apologize, how about treating me to a meal after we get out?" Sung Jinwoo blushed and agreed to this request. At the same time, the team also reached the door to the boss room. Captain Song was about to push the door to check, but unexpectedly, the door opened automatically. The lights inside the room also suddenly ignited. After entering, they discovered this was an abandoned church. The stone statues around gave off an eerie and terrifying feeling, especially the one in the center of the church, which looked spine-chilling. During everyone's exploration, no magic beasts were found. At this time, a stone tablet with inscriptions caught everyone's attention. It listed 3 commandments. First, worship the god. Second, praise the god. And finally, prove your faith. Those who violate these commandments will not leave here alive. Just as Captain Song finished reading the sentence, a loud noise caught everyone's attention. The door had closed by itself. At this moment, a big guy couldn't stand it and wanted to leave. But the moment he touched the door, a stone statue swung its axe toward him. The D-rank hunter died instantly. This sudden scene filled everyone with fear. The terrified Sung Jinwoo turned to look behind him and was shocked to see the largest statue glance at him, and a ball of light began to gather. In his urgency, Sung Jinwoo immediately told everyone to get down. As soon as he said this, the statue fired a laser at where everyone was standing. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Sung Jinwoo tackled Ji. Otherwise, she would have been completely vaporized by the laser. As the statue's first wave of attacks ended, many people died under the laser. Even the strongest Captain Song lost an arm. According to Captain Song's guess, the largest statue was an S-rank boss. However, the statue had now stopped attacking. But suddenly, a man stood up, rushed toward the door in one step. Just as he was about to reach the door, a golden light flashed from the statue's eyes. Then, the man's upper body was consumed by the golden light. His death made everyone even more terrified. At this time, Sung Jinwoo discovered what all the dead had in common. They were all standing before they died, and the statue's attacks all seemed to follow certain rules. Suddenly, Sung Jinwoo seemed to think of something. He turned to look at the stone tablet behind him. That's right. The content recorded on the tablet was the key to their survival. The first rule, worship the god, and the god of this room should be the largest statue. So, Sung Jinwoo slowly stood up and began testing the statue. Sure enough, when he stood to a certain height, the statue's eyes began to glow. Realizing this, Sung Jinwoo quickly bent down to dodge. He could confirm that the statue would only attack those who stood to a certain height. Understanding the meaning of the first rule, Sung Jinwoo immediately had everyone bow to the statue. Everyone followed Sung Jinwoo's instructions. After seeing everyone bow to him, the statue smiled eerily and all attacks stopped. Just when everyone thought they were saved, the statue began to shake violently. It actually stood up in front of everyone and raised its foot to stomp on them. Faced with the attack, everyone could only dodge. Sung Jinwoo shouted to everyone at this time, "The rule for the stage should be what's written on the tablet, praise the god." Hearing the word praise, a church janitor confidently stepped forward, praising the statue before them, as sweet as honey. But after hearing this, the statue smiled even more eerily. Hearing the praise, Sung Jinwoo looked at the janitor in horror because all his praise was for other gods. In the end, the janitor was stomped to death by the statue, and everyone began to scatter and flee when splattered with blood. However, the danger at this moment wasn't just the largest statue. The statues around the temple would also attack everyone. The fat guy who was hit by a statue was instantly cut in half. Sung Jinwoo kept thinking about how to praise the god, but those things in front of him were clearly demons. The fleeing crowd kept having people hit by weapon-wielding statues. Just then, Sung Jinwoo saw some statues holding musical instruments. It seemed that so far the instrument-wielding statues hadn't attacked. So Sung Jinwoo had everyone seek shelter with the instrument statues. Sure enough, when Captain Song stood in front of a statue, the statue began to play. Seeing this, Sung Jinwoo also pulled Ji toward a statue, but the statue in front of them didn't start playing. Could it be that one statue could only protect one person? So, Sung Jinwoo pushed Ji toward the statue and went to find other safe spots by himself. Soon, he identified a target. As the statue's foot was about to land, he slid underneath with a slide tackle. However, unexpectedly, the statue in front of him wasn't holding an instrument, but a shield. Immediately, the statue raised its shield and smashed it towards Sung Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo was severely injured by the attack, but his will to survive still made him crawl forward. Just as the giant foot was about to step on him, the statue in front of him began to play. At the same time, the largest statue also stopped attacking. Ji anxiously ran to Sung Jinwoo's side to check his injuries. She immediately noticed Sung Jinwoo's right leg was broken, so she quickly activated her ability to heal him. But even with all her strength, she couldn't stop Sung Jinwoo's bleeding. 17 people entered the room, but now only 6 remained. 2 of them were seriously injured. At this time, the statue that had stopped attacking suddenly extended its arm in a starting position. At the same time, an altar rose from the ground. Sung Jinwoo told everyone this should be the final stage. That is to prove one's faith. Hearing this, Old Wang immediately summoned his long sword, threatening Captain Song to go sacrifice himself. After all, he was the one who led everyone into the room. Finally, Captain Song also dragged his broken body to the altar, but the statue didn't attack him. Instead, a flame ignited behind him. It seemed the altar wasn't meant for sacrifice. So, Sung Jinwoo had everyone send him to the altar as well. It turned out that for each person who stepped onto it, a flame would ignite around the altar. After confirming it was safe, Sung Jinwoo had everyone enter the altar. The moment everyone stepped into the altar, the ground began to shake violently. At the same time, blue flames ignited around the altar. With a loud bang, the previously closed door suddenly opened by itself, but no one dared approach the door. Everyone feared there might be unexpected dangers behind it. Just then, all the previously still statues began to move. Everyone watched the approaching statues, not knowing what to do. But soon, Sung Jinwoo discovered something strange about the statues. As long as you kept staring at a statue, it would stop moving. After learning this, everyone stared at the statues without daring to blink. However, unexpectedly, one woman had an emotional breakdown. She ran straight toward the door and left the room under everyone's gaze. The moment she exited, the door closed a little. But according to Sung Jinwoo's guess, the open door was a trap, giving people a false hope. And the so-called proving faith meant that under fear and threat, facing sweet temptation, one could still prove their faith. However, the hat-wearing man thought this was all Sung Jinwoo's speculation. So he abandoned him and left the room. With their departure, blind spots appeared. If one more person left, everyone would die. But at this time, Old Wang, thinking of his family, began to have a mental breakdown. He dropped his weapon and ran toward the exit. This escape plunged Sung Jinwoo into despair. His departure would kill everyone present. Captain Song looked at the door about to close. He decided to stay behind. He wanted to give the hope of survival to Juhee and Sung Jinwoo. So he told Juhee to take Sung Jinwoo and leave. But at this time, Ji had exhausted all her strength, helping Sung Jinwoo heal his injuries and lost the strength to stand. This meant Ji couldn't take Sung Jinwoo away. Finally, Sung Jinwoo made a decision. He decided to stay behind and let Captain Song take Ji away. After saying this, he began searching in his pocket. He gave the ear-rank magic crystal to Ji. I said, I'd treat you to a meal. Take this and go eat first. When I get out of here, I'll ask you for the change. But Ji refused to leave Sung Jinwoo alone. So, Captain Song knocked her unconscious, then carried her toward the door. As the door completely closed, the last glimmer of life in Sung Jinwoo's eyes also disappeared. He picked up the sword old Wang had left behind. Even if he died, he would take someone down with him. At the same time, all the statues walked up to him. They raised their weapons and launched an attack on Sung Jinwoo. The speed was so fast he couldn't react. The spear instantly pierced his heart. As the statue pulled out the spear, Sung Jinwoo, lying on the altar, gradually lost focus. Memories of his life flashed through his mind like a revolving lantern. Just as the statue was about to swing its blade at Sung Jinwoo again, suddenly, time in the entire room stopped. At the same time, a pop-up appeared in Sung Jinwoo's mind. Notification conditions for hidden quest completion met. Then, a accept quest window appeared. If he refused, he would die on the spot. Finally, driven by his will to survive, Sunday Jinwoo chose to accept. At this moment, his entire body radiated golden light. Under this light, all the statues turned to dust at this moment. Then a become player notification appeared in Sung Jinwoo's mind. It wasn't until 3 months later that Sung Jinwoo woke up startled in an unfamiliar environment, just as he thought this was all a dream. At this moment, his room experienced an earthquake. When he came to his senses, he found himself in a desert and a pop-up notification said he had to accept punishment for incomplete quests. At the same time, a giant centipede magic beast appeared behind him. His punishment task was to survive 4 hours while being hunted by the magic beast. Looking at the centipede's gaping maw, Sung Jinwoo unleashed all his potential and began to run. During these 4 hours, he constantly hovered between life and death. Just as the centipede was about to devour him, the survival task was completed, and Sung Jinwoo was instantly teleported back to the hospital room. Only then did he understand that everything that happened before wasn't a dream. Then he collapsed from exhaustion. The next day, when he woke up, Sung Jinwoo received his daily quest. He began running frantically through the hospital like a madman. After yesterday's experience, he could confirm that what he saw wasn't an illusion. His previously broken right leg must have been healed by this pop-up system. At the same time, completing daily quests would also give attribute points and rewards. He felt like he was being controlled by someone. Today's quest completion reward was a dungeon key. He immediately prepared to investigate. However, the moment he entered the dungeon, his escape route was sealed behind him, and a pop-up notification said, only by defeating the boss or using a return stone could he leave. He looked at the eerie tunnel and could only cautiously explore with trepidation. Suddenly, a strong putrid smell hit him. He turned around and saw a wolf opening its bloody M to attack him. Fortunately, Sung Jinwoo reacted quickly enough to dodge the attack. However, when he saw the wolf's appearance clearly, his legs couldn't help but tremble. Obviously, he hadn't recovered from the shadow of the double dungeon. Just then, the wolf launched its attack first. Sung Jinwoo narrowly dodged, but he noticed his body had become very agile, and he felt like some power was awakening in his body. Therefore, he used all his strength to punch the wolf in front of him. Sung Jinwoo was instantly shocked by his own power. An earring hunter like him could actually send a wolf flying with one punch. However, the wolf wasn't killed by this punch. Instead, it frantically attacked Sung Jinwoo, but barehanded, he couldn't deal fatal damage to the wolf. At this time, he remembered that old Wang's sword was in his backpack. He directly drew the sword and slashed at the wolf's head. This strike cut the wolf in half. With the wolf's death, his level also increased, but Sung Jinwoo didn't have time to rest. 2 more wolves were attracted by the smell of blood. Sung Jinwoo immediately swung his sword to meet them, but was bitten by a wolf on his sword. But Sung Jinwoo felt his strength continuously increasing. With a little effort, he killed the wolf. After killing 3 wolves, he still hadn't obtained a return stone. But as his attributes improved, he also unlocked skills. To get out, Sung Jinwoo continued deeper into the tunnel, constantly killing the wolves blocking his path. When he had killed 1,000, he obtained the title Wolf Slayer, and the sword in his hand was about to break. Through constant battles with magic beasts, he could feel himself getting stronger. Finally, he reached the end of the tunnel. Suddenly, Sung Jinwoo felt a sinister aura blowing toward him. But to leave, he still resolutely walked forward. But the moment he stepped into the room, the ground began to shake violently. Then a huge tail swept toward him. Hit by the strike, Sung Jinwoo flew out like a meteor, crashing into the wall before stopping. At the same time, his only weapon also broke. When Sung Jinwoo came to his senses, a 30m tall Serpent King appeared before him. It should be the boss here. The Serpent King instantly attacked Sung Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo also gripped his broken sword and slashed at the Serpent King. But no matter how he attacked, he couldn't pierce the Serpent King's scales. While the Serpent King's attacks grew more fierce, continuing like this, Sung Jinwoo would surely die. He was constantly whipped and tortured by the Serpent King. The Serpent King's tail sweep sent him flying again. However, Sung Jinwoo still tremblingly stood up. He wasn't willing to die here like this. Then he charged at the Serpent King again. As Sung Jinwoo was continuously knocked away, continuously brutalized, the power contained within him finally broke free from its restraints. His strength value shot directly up to 48 points. Then Sung Jinwoo grabbed the Serpent King's vital spot. With brute force, he crushed the Serpent King. With the Serpent King's fall, 2 items dropped. A paralyzing short sword made from poison fangs and a vial of poison with side effects. Just then, the space suddenly began to shake violently. The surrounding environment also changed to look like the real world. Sung Jinwoo dragged his weary body toward the surface. But just as he exited the station, he felt a powerful magic beast aura. Sure enough, not far away, a boss-level magic beast had invaded the real world from a dungeon. At the same time, many hunters were engaged in fierce battle with the magic beast. However, this hastily assembled team couldn't pose much threat to the magic beast. At this time, Sung Jinwoo saw a familiar figure in that team. It was Ji, who had been taken away by Captain Song earlier. It seemed those who left before didn't die. But looking at Juhi's condition, she seemed to have not recovered from her fear yet. To help those people, Sung Jinwoo raised his broken sword, then concentrated all his power into his wrist and threw the broken sword at the boss magic beast. This strike directly broke through the magic beast's defense. Then the magic beast's body began to crack. The hunter team saw the magic beast's abnormality and seized the opportunity to give it a fatal blow with all their strength. Finally, the magic beast died under everyone's siege. The team captain immediately noticed the broken sword that had pierced the magic beast's defense. He quickly picked up the broken sword and asked the armed team members who threw this broken sword. But by the time he turned around, Sung Jinwoo had already left. After returning to the hospital for several days, Sung Jinwoo began training frantically. Overnight, he became a muscular man. Even his height increased by 30 centimeters. It seemed these were all side effects of adding attribute points to strength. If he continued to increase strength, he might turn into a gorilla. But Sung Jinwoo still chose to add all attribute points to strength. After recovering, he had just gotten home when he received a call from his landlord demanding rent. So, he immediately went to find a raid team to make money. However, the team before him didn't even have a healer, and he could sense a hint of killing intent from the leading captain. Sure enough, the moment everyone stepped into the dungeon, those hunters showed evil smiles on their faces. Sung Jinwoo immediately had an ominous feeling. At this time, someone discovered a cave full of magic beast corpses. Everyone curiously walked into the cave. Suddenly, they were all stunned by what they saw. There was actually a mine here, but above the mine, a spider boss was sleeping. So, Captain Huang Dong-suk had Sung Jinwoo and the rich kids stay here. They were going out to get equipment for mining the mountain. But as they were leaving, Huang Dong-suk showed an evil smile. Then, he attacked the cave entrance. In the blink of an eye, Sundae Jinwoo and the others' escape route was blocked. Just as Sung Jinwoo suspected those people wanted to use them as sacrifices, the huge explosion woke the sleeping spider. It angrily attacked Sung Jinwoo and the others. After seeing the spider's reach, Sung Jinwoo calmly walked toward it. He wanted to use this opportunity to test his strength. The spider opened its bloody maw and charged at Sung Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo also drew his paralyzing short sword and rushed forward. In just one encounter, the spider was wounded by the paralyzing short sword. The paralysis effect made the spider's movements pause. Sung Jinwoo seized this opening and charged at the spider with his blade. The spider that came to its senses quickly used its 8 legs to block. Sung Jinwoo's short sword constantly collided with the 8 legs. For a moment, he and the spider fought intensely. Sung Jinwoo discovered these 8 legs were extremely powerful with no blind spots for attack. At the same time, its skin was so hard that the paralyzing short sword could barely cut through. So, to kill it, he needed to use the short sword's special ability, which was to bleed the opponent to death through the bleeding effect. So, Sung Jinwoo gathered his strength to charge at the spider. But just then, the spider's mouth suddenly glowed green. Then it spat out highly corrosive sticky fluid. Fortunately, Sung Jinwoo reacted quickly and dodged this attack. If hit, he would instantly turn into blood water. In that case, he could only continue to increase his speed, activating the sprint skill. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo moved like lightning, appearing before the spider in the blink of an eye. Just as Sung Jinwoo was about to swing his blade at the spider, his body suddenly stopped midair. It turned out that activating the skill had pushed his fatigue to the limit. The spider also seized this opportunity to attack the attack. Sung Jinwoo felt like he'd been hit by a plane, sinking deep into the ground. Seeing this, the spider leaped to deliver a fatal blow. At this critical moment, Sung Jinwoo used the daily quest reward he'd saved for several days, status recovery item. In the blink of an eye, Sung Jinwoo was fully revived and charged at the spider with lightning speed, stabbing into the spider's eye. The paralysis effect activated. Sung Jinwoo took the opportunity to continuously stab the spider. Finally, the bleeding effect triggered. As time passed, the spider finally died from blood loss. Sung Jinwoo also leveled up 3 times as a result. The rich kid beside him still hadn't recovered. He looked at Sung Jinwoo, who seemed like a demon. His body couldn't help but tremble. Then he became Sung Jinwoo's fan and started doing mining work. However, the exit exploded again. Hwang Dong-suk and others had returned to clean up. They looked at the dead spider before them and began discussing. They thought it was the rich kid Yoo Jin-ho who killed the spider. So, Hwang Dong-suk wanted to recruit Yoo Jin-ho. They told Yoo Jin-ho to kill Sung Jinwoo. This would make him an accomplice, and it was his only way to survive. However, unexpectedly, Yoo Jin-ho raised his weapon in front of Sung Jinwoo. Seeing this, Hwang Dong-suk and others launched magic to kill them. At this time, Sung Jinwoo suddenly received an emergency quest to eliminate the people with killing intent before him. As the explosion ended, Sung Jinwoo was covered by collapsed rocks. But at this moment, his expression suddenly darkened. Since the system uses me, then I can also use the system. Sung Jinwoo walked toward everyone like a demon. I ask you, as a hunter, are you prepared to be hunted? The brown-haired guy thought Sung Jinwoo was just being tough, so he put his arm on his shoulder to assert dominance. But the next second, the short sword appeared at his throat. After a muffled sound, the brown-haired guy went to hell. The hunt officially begins. As soon as he finished speaking, Sung Jinwoo emanated intense killing intent. The long-haired man saw the situation was bad and launched wide-range magic at Sung Jinwoo. But he had no intention of dodging. He charged at the long-haired man while taking the attack, directly dismembering him. Then Sung Jinwoo killed one person every 10 steps. Those SE rank hunters had no resistance against Sung Jinwoo. In the blink of an eye, they were killed until only one remained. Hwang Dong-suk also showed terror after seeing his subordinates die. To protect himself, he immediately unleashed his full power. He believed that with Sung Jinwoo's exhausted body, it was impossible to break through his defense. So, he launched the first attack on Sung Jinwoo. But facing the attack, Sung Jinwoo still chose not to dodge. He raised his palm to block Hwang Dong-suk, then slammed him hard to the ground. This strike left Hwang Dong-suk unable to move. He looked at Sung Jinwoo, who seemed like a demon, and began begging for mercy. However, Sung Jinwoo looked at him coldly and cut off his head with one slash. Completing the quest, Sung Jinwoo gained a killing intense skill. But what he didn't know was at this time, a man in a neighboring country woke from his dream. He sensed his younger brother's aura had disappeared. The Hunter Surveillance Department also received news of Hwang Dong-suk's death. And among the survivors of this C-rank dungeon was Sung Jinwoo, who had experienced the double dungeon incident. This news greatly surprised the Surveillance Department chief, Sung Jinwoo, and that man's brother. This matter is really concerning. One day, Sung Jinwoo suddenly discovered that drinking 99 bottles of pesticide daily wouldn't kill him simply because he had a system that could automatically detoxify. After learning of this ability, he immediately remembered the poison vial with side effects in his backpack. He swallowed the poison in one gulp. Sure enough, the system automatically neutralized the poison side effects. Therefore, Sung Jinwoo gained physical damage immunity. And today's daily quest also gave him an S-rank dungeon key. So, he immediately prepared to investigate. But as soon as he entered the dungeon, he was shocked by the apocalyptic scene before him. However, he currently had a return stone so he could venture deeper into the dungeon without worry. Soon he saw a massive creature ahead, a red named Hell three-headed dog. The Hellhound charged at Sung Jinwoo with its bloody end the moment it saw the intruder. Sung Jinwoo also drew his paralyzing short sword to meet it. He didn't expect his Wolf Slayer title to work on dogs, too. Continuous attacks made the Hellhound howl in pain. It had no power to fight back under Sung Jinwoo's attacks, so Sung Jinwoo used his killing intent skill to finish it off. However, Hell creatures had too strong resistance. The killing intent effect couldn't harm them, and it made the Hellhound go berserk. The Hellhound frantically pounced on Sung Jinwoo. He dodged while stabbing the paralyzing short sword into the Hellhound's eye, but unexpectedly, the berserk Hellhound couldn't feel pain. It directly activated its second head to bite Sung Jinwoo. Unable to dodge in time, Sung Jinwoo's right arm was bitten, and he was thrown 100 meters away. The attack Sung Jinwoo's stamina dropped drastically, but he managed to save his life with his persistent skill. Seeing the Hellhound pounce again, Sung Jinwoo immediately used a recovery effect. The fully revived Sung Jinwoo barely blocked the Hellhound's attack. Then he used all his strength to throw the Hellhound away, immediately stabbing the short sword into the Hellhound's eye again. He fought the Hellhound for 14 hours using his speed advantage, finally wearing it to death. Unexpectedly, just one guard dog made him level up 4 times. And he also got the Demon Castle key. But Sung Jinwoo didn't want to open the castle gate because with his current strength, entering the Demon Castle would be certain death. However, as soon as Sung Jinwoo returned to the real world, he received an emergency quest. In this quest, he met an acquaintance. It was Captain Song, who had experienced the double dungeon together. Not only that, the other team members were also survivors from that day. Ji looked at Sung Jinwoo in disbelief, excitedly shedding tears. But before they could catch up, mocking voices came over. They were the other participants in this dungeon, and their identities were all vicious criminals. At the same time, the last to get off the vehicle was a B-rank hunter, the purple-haired surveillance officer responsible for guarding the criminals. However, looking at his back, Sung Jinwoo felt an ominous premonition. After entering the dungeon, those criminals killed magic beasts like madmen. Soon, the magic beast minions were all slaughtered. However, when continuing deeper, everyone discovered there were 3 paths ahead. Sung Jinwoo instantly sensed the location of the boss room, so he decided to take the left passage with Captain Song. Hearing this choice, the purple-haired man gave Sung Jinwoo an evil smile, though it was only for an instant. Sung Jinwoo noticed his small expression. Finally, everyone chose to split up, but Sung Jinwoo had barely walked forward when screams came from behind, so Sung Jinwoo and others immediately returned to check. But when they reached the destination, they were all shocked by the scene before them. All the hunters had been knocked down by the purple-haired man. Even old Wong, who had once teamed up with them, couldn't escape his clutches. Sung Jinwoo stared at the purple-haired man full of killing intent, asking why he did this. But he didn't answer. Instead, directly launched an attack on Captain Song. In an instant, Captain Song was severely injured. Just as the purple-haired man raised his blade to finish off Captain Song, Sung Jinwoo rushed forward to block this strike. The purple-haired man felt the threat of death from Sung Jinwoo's eyes. So, he retreated repeatedly. But soon, he laughed excitedly because he could confirm that Sung Jinwoo was a second awakener. But the purple-haired man wasn't panicked at all because combat experience in the hunter profession was also very important. So, he launched the first attack on Sung Jinwoo. However, to his surprise, Sung Jinwoo easily blocked his attack and Sung Jinwoo's gaze made his blood run cold. So, he had no choice but to strike at his opponent with full force. Sung Jinwoo immediately swung his blade to counter, but the purple-haired figure suddenly vanished before him. Under full power, the purple-haired one moved like lightning. Soon, Sung Jinwoo couldn't keep up with his speed. Just as the purple-haired one was about to strike him, Ji quickly activated her buff skills. Swift Spell and Amplify Spell were both cast on Sung Jinwoo simultaneously. Now, both fighters' speeds were instantly balanced. Their weapons clashed continuously, seeing that the battle remained deadlocked. The purple-haired one threw his short sword toward Ji. Upon noticing this, Sung Jinwoo immediately used his body to block the attack. However, despite taking the hit directly, he wasn't injured. It turned out the system had automatically activated and issued a quest. Coming to his senses, Sung Jinwoo immediately assumed an attack stance, then charged toward the purple-haired one. At the same time, he used his dash skill. This explosive speed caught the purple-haired one off guard. Soon, the purple-haired one couldn't defend against Sung Jinwoo's attacks, and a cut appeared across his face. The injured purple-haired one fell into a frenzy. His figure suddenly disappeared before Sung Jinwoo. It was a stealth skill. Unable to see his enemy, Sung Jinwoo could only endure continuous attacks from the purple-haired one. Soon, he was severely wounded and collapsed. Seeing this, the purple-haired one revealed himself, ready to show Sung Jinwoo how strong he was. However, what he didn't expect was that Sung Jinwoo's wounds instantly healed. Then, he swung his blade toward the purple-haired one. The purple-haired one dodged the attack and once again vanished into darkness. But now Sung Jinwoo could easily catch the purple-haired one's attacks, and he directly activated his killing intent skill. Instantly, the purple-haired one's feet felt as if they were trapped in a swamp. He felt as though he was facing a demon. While he was panicking, Sung Jinwoo's short sword pierced his heart. Before dying, the purple-haired one unwillingly asked about Sung Jinwoo's level. Hearing this, he replied with a cold expression, "If I told you that I get stronger with every battle, what level do you think I am?" The purple-haired one was literally killed by anger upon hearing this boastful statement. Sung Jinwoo then pulled out the short sword from the purple-haired one's body. Unexpectedly, there was a white light glowing at his heart. It was actually a runestone with stealth abilities. After collecting the runestone, Sung Jinwoo successfully completed the dungeon. However, just as they exited the dungeon, the blonde section chief from the Hunter Surveillance Division blocked everyone. His purpose was to investigate the death of B-rank hunter Purple Hair. Just as Sung Jinwoo was about to confess, Captain Song took responsibility for the incident. However, the blonde chief didn't make things difficult for Captain Song after learning the truth. Instead, he advised Sung Jinwoo to take his family and leave H country and warned him that he was already being targeted by Hwang Dong-suk's brother. That man was an S-rank hunter Hwang Dong-soo. This statement greatly surprised Sung Jinwoo. He had to become stronger before that person came looking for him. Just then, he received a phone call. It was Yoo Jin-ho asking him to meet to discuss important matters. After arriving at the destination, Yoo Jin-ho got straight to the point. He was planning to establish a hunter guild. But before he could continue, Sung Jinwoo immediately declined. He didn't have time to play hunter games with some chaebol son. Just as Sung Jinwoo was turning to leave, Yoo Jin-ho mentioned generous compensation and pointed out Sung Jinwoo's current awkward situation. As an E-rank hunter, no team would choose to party with him. But by joining a strike team, this problem could be perfectly avoided. Yoo Jin-ho's words undoubtedly struck at Sung Jinwoo's heart. So Sung Jinwoo casually asked, "What benefits would I get?" Yoo Jin-ho immediately handed over the prepared contract to Sung Jinwoo. And after he saw the specific compensation, his pupils contracted sharply. He never expected that Yoo Jin-ho would hire him with a building worth 200 million, and he only needed to help him clear 19 C-rank dungeons. With such generous conditions, he had absolutely no reason to refuse. However, Sung Jinwoo still made one request. Have Yoo Jin-ho pay for some filler hunters to open the gates. While only the two of them would actually clear the dungeons, just as those filler hunters were discussing where to collect their rewards if they died, Yoo Jin-ho hurriedly ran out of the dungeon. The hunters saw his disheveled appearance and thought he had fled. But the next second, they showed expressions of terror because the gate had closed, which meant the boss had been defeated. Yoo Jin-ho excitedly looked toward everyone, telling them to gather at the next dungeon entrance. Today's mission was to clear 3 C-rank dungeons. At the same time, within the White Tiger Guild, they discovered that C-rank gates in their territory were selling for 1.5 million. After investigation, they quickly discovered Sung Jinwoo's team. This news immediately caught the greasy-haired man's interest. So, he ordered everyone to investigate information about Sung Jinwoo and Yoo Jin-ho. After all, Sung Jinwoo had emerged unscathed from 3 deadly incidents. So, according to speculation, Sung Jinwoo must be the legendary Second Awakener. Therefore, the greasy-haired man decided to personally assess Sung Jinwoo. At this time, Sung Jinwoo was clearing monsters in a dungeon. As his blade rose and fell, the C-rank dungeon's monsters could only become experience points for his leveling. As his level increased, he gained more and more practical skills. But then, an urgent quest caught Sung Jinwoo's attention. It was a job change quest issued by the system. Meanwhile, the greasy-haired man arrived at the entrance of the dungeon they were clearing. But he was stunned by the scene before him. He saw that all the strike team members were actually eating, drinking, and having fun. Through inquiry, he learned that only 2 people entered each dungeon raid. This news excited the greasy-haired man greatly. He was certain that Sung Jinwoo was a rare super hunter. At this time, Sung Jinwoo and Yoo Jin-ho also emerged from the dungeon, and he told Yoo Jin-ho to cancel all of tomorrow's dungeons. As soon as he finished speaking, the greasy-haired man approached Sung Jinwoo. He invited Sung Jinwoo to the White Tiger Guild headquarters, then said that their White Tiger Guild would invite him to join at twice Yoo Jin-ho's price. However, Sung Jinwoo felt nothing upon hearing this. How much is the White Tiger Guild building worth exactly? For you to make such an offer? This question greatly surprised the greasy-haired man. The current market value should be around 300 million. So, you're saying you'll give me this building? Yoo Jin-ho offered me a building worth 200 million. If you're offering double, giving me the White Tiger Guild building probably wouldn't be enough. The greasy-haired man was shocked upon hearing 200 million. Such a large amount was beyond his authority. He needed to discuss it with the guild's higher-ups. However, Sung Jinwoo turned and left after hearing this, and he suddenly entered stealth mode. The greasy-haired man's face was instantly cut. You were investigating me behind my back, weren't you? Faced with the threat of death, the greasy-haired man admitted to this. However, Sung Jinwoo calmly appeared before the greasy-haired man, stating he didn't want his affairs known by more people. At the same time, he knew that the White Tiger Guild currently had no gates available for new hunter training. So, he began negotiating a deal with the greasy-haired man. He could sell them the 3 C-rank gate reservations he held, 2 million each. However, this price far exceeded what the greasy-haired man could afford. C-rank gates were worth at most 1.2 million. But after saying this, Sung Jinwoo said it was a deal. The requirement was 3.6 million transferred immediately. At the same time, He took out a red potion and poured it into the greasy-haired man's mouth. In the blink of an eye, the wound on his face healed. This made the greasy-haired man even more convinced that Sung Jinwoo's strength was unfathomable. Stealth abilities of an assassin, plus healing skills of a healer. This was a profession type that had never appeared in history. At this time, the departing Sung Jinwoo also received a call from Yu Jinho, who had already received the money from selling the gates. The greasy-haired man who returned to the guild was nearly driven to death by anger because their region had abundant Sean gates and prices were all under 60,000. The greasy-haired man trembled with rage. Not only did he fail to recruit Sung Jinwoo, but he was also scammed out of over 3 million. At this time, Sung Jinwoo was alone heading toward the job change dungeon. However, what he didn't know was that the moment he stepped into the job change dungeon, the real game was just beginning. Igris is the most loyal knight. He has guarded the empty throne alone for 3,000 years. Any creature that disturbs the throne will be slain by him. But now, Sung Jinwoo's first job change quest was to defeat him. However, the killing intent emanating from Igris made Sung Jinwoo's blood run cold. Before Sung Jinwoo could react, Igris swung his great sword at him. Fortunately, he reacted quickly enough to dodge disaster. If hit, his head would definitely be separated from his body. Sung Jinwoo took advantage of the moment when Igris retracted his great sword to stab toward his heart, but his full power attack couldn't even pierce the armor. At that moment, Igris swung his sword towards Sung Jinwoo again. The power of the sword directly split the ground in half. Luckily, Sung Jinwoo leaned back to dodge it. Then, he stepped back to distance himself from Igris, who surpassed him in all attributes. Sung Jinwoo put away his short sword. Since he couldn't pierce the armor, he could only engage in close combat. However, after seeing Sung Jinwoo's actions out of Shoal's spirit, Agree also thrust his great sword into the ground. Then he removed his cape. He then quickly charged towards Sung Jinwoo. Agree grabbed his throat and threw him out with full force. Sung Jinwoo, struck by this attack, flew out like a meteor, only stopping when he crashed into the stone wall. Before he could react, Igris's fist struck toward him again. This punch directly broke through him and the wall behind him. Fortunately, Sung Jinwoo would defend it in time, only dislocating his arm. As the smoke cleared, Igris's figure appeared before Sung Jinwoo again. Blindly defending definitely wouldn't defeat his opponent. So Sung Jinwoo used his dash skill, instantly rushing to Agree's front. However, the quick reacting Agree struck with an elbow toward Sung Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo quickly raised his arm to block, but at this moment, Igris changed his attack pattern, throwing a punch toward him. Sung Jinwoo, who met the punch head-on, was forced to retreat repeatedly. Then Igris swung another punch at him. This punch triggered Sung Jinwoo's death-dying passive. Igris grabbed his ankle, punching him in the abdomen. Sung Jinwoo, who took the hit directly, was like being hit by a plane crashing into the stone wall. Then he fell onto the throne. This scene enraged Igris greatly. Disregarding chivalry's spirit, he picked up his great sword to execute Sung Jinwoo. At this critical moment, Sung Jinwoo put on the knight's gauntlets and caught the great sword. Then he summoned the paralysis short sword, taking the opportunity to stab it into Igris's eye. Agrees, struck by the short sword, fell into brief paralysis. Sung Jinwoo grabbed Igris's body, charging toward the stone wall behind, then continuously stabbed toward Igris's head with the short sword as fatal strikes were repeatedly triggered. The red light in Igris's eyes also extinguished. At the same time, Sung Jinwoo received notification of the knight's death and obtained 2 incredible rewards. One was a helmet that could reduce physical damage. The other was a run stone that could remotely control weapons. Just as Sung Jinwoo was collecting his rewards, a huge black hole appeared behind him. The job change quest was just beginning, and the task was to survive under the siege of monsters. Immediately, countless armored knights emerged from the portal. Sung Jinwoo immediately activated his stealth skill, hoping to persevere through invisibility. However, unexpectedly, there was a mage behind the knights who could see through stealth. In an instant, the knights swung their swords towards Sung Jinwoo. He immediately counterattacked directly, sending the knight flying, then activated his killing intent skill. All enemies affected by the killing intent fell into a weakened state for 1 minute. Sung Jinwoo seized this brief time to continuously kill knights. But no matter how fast he killed, the knights would endlessly revive. As Sung Jinwoo kept getting hit by knights, his health was continuously decreasing. Sung Jinwoo grabbed the return stone, wanting to leave. But just as the return stone was about to take effect, a sledgehammer struck towards Sung Jinwoo, forcibly knocking the return stone away. Sung Jinwoo was also knocked to the ground by the strike. All the knights rushed forward. At this moment, he was continuously beaten down by the knights. Just as the knight's greatsword was about to strike Sung Jinwoo, a pop-up appeared indicating failure to complete daily quests. Then, Sung Jinwoo disappeared before the knight's eyes. When he woke up again, he found himself in that familiar punishment desert. Unexpectedly, the punishment quest had saved his life. The punishment zone lifted the restriction on opening the shop. Sung Jinwoo immediately bought potions for recovery. Then he decided to spend the 4 hours of punishment, leveling up by killing centipede monsters. Only by becoming stronger could he pass the job change quest. Soon, the centipede monsters in the desert were wiped out by Sung Jinwoo. All his abilities had qualitatively improved. He also spent all his money to buy a night killer short sword. This way, he had enough confidence to pass the job change quest. At the last moment before leaving the punishment zone, Sung Jinwoo used that ruler's hand rune stone. When he returned to the job change dungeon, the knights had already reached several thousand. Sung Jinwoo raised his short sword and charged at the knight army. As he killed more knights, he noticed something strange. Despite facing so many enemies, he felt no experience gain whatsoever, and the mages never attacked. Could it be that all the knights before him were summons? To confirm his suspicion, Sung Jinwoo charged toward where the mages were. Then he threw his short sword toward the mage. The mage struck by the short sword was instantly killed, and the knight army also collapsed on its own. Indeed, the mages were the main bodies. So Sung Jinwoo immediately used stealth to vanish into darkness, continuously searching for and executing the remaining mages. As Sung Jinwoo's blade rose and fell, the mages fell one by one, and soon the last mage was also crushed by the ruler's hand. Sung Jinwoo stood like a death god upon the corpses of knights. The job change quest was completed at this moment just when he thought that having focused all points on strength attributes, he would become a warrior or assassin. He was shocked by the notification before him. The player constantly hovers between life and death, desires power, but doesn't rely on teammates. So this undead army that obeys your every command will help you. Therefore, your profession is a necromancer who can summon undead legions. Sung Jinwoo couldn't accept this result because he had never invested in intelligence attributes. So he wanted to refuse this profession. But the system prompted again that necromancer was a hidden profession. This prompt left Sung Jinwoo conflicted, and he also noticed everything that had happened in the job change dungeon as if it was deliberately shown to him. If he could have his own team while also having combat ability himself, perhaps he could solo highly dungeons in the future. Finally, Sung Jinwoo chose to accept the necromancer profession. At this time, the system prompted again due to job change quest points exceeding the achievement limit. The player will advance from necromancer to the Great Shadow Monarch. Learn profession exclusive skill. Can extract opponent's shadow. Please specify a command word for the shadow extraction skill. Sung Jinwoo didn't even consider and decided to rise. With these words, the shadows of surrounding knights rushed out of their bodies. Dozens of shadow warriors approached Sung Jinwoo. At his current level, he could store 20 shadow warriors. Looking at the powerful shadow warriors before him, Sung Jinwoo suddenly remembered something. Could he extract the shadow of the Highly Knight? At this moment, an extractable shadow prompt appeared before Igris. Sung Jinwoo walked to Igris and said arise to a shadow. However, what Sung Jinwoo didn't expect was that the shadow extraction failed, and he only had 2 more chances to extract shadows. Indeed, the strong have dignity. The second extraction also failed. Sung Jinwoo looked toward the throne nearby. What's the point of guarding this empty throne? Why not guard me instead? Arise. As soon as he spoke, Igris's shadow rushed out from his corpse. Indeed, he still retained his strength from life. From today on, your name will be Igris at the same time. My shadow army, I look forward to fighting with you guys. However, what Sung Jinwoo didn't know was that at this time, S-rank hunter Huang Dong-soo had already arrived in H country. His purpose this time was to kill Sung Jinwoo and avenge his brother. Meanwhile, to test his shadow army's strength, Sung Jinwoo went to find a C-rank dungeon to try them out. However, the moment he stepped into the dungeon entrance suddenly turned red. This meant the dungeon was at least B-rank difficulty, and he had to defeat the boss to leave. Sure enough, upon entering the dungeon, the team was immediately attacked by monsters. At this moment, 2 ice spears suddenly shot forward at high speed. Sung Jinwoo reacted in time, grabbing 1 ice spear to protect the girl behind him. But those D-rank hunters weren't so lucky. Those hit immediately departed for another world. Sung Jinwoo carefully looked toward where the ice spears were fired from, instantly locking onto the sneak attacker, which turned out to be ice slayers with intelligence surpassing humans. These ice slayers really had good eyes, immediately targeting the 2 weakest in the strike team. If he had encountered them 2 months ago, that arrow would probably have been aimed at him. At this time, the leading ice slayer made a provocative gesture towards Sung Jinwoo after noticing his gaze. Sung Jinwoo was so angry, he directly crushed the ice spear in his hand just as he was about to launch an attack. The ice slayer vanished like a ghost. At this time, the leading senior hunter, Wang Ji, suddenly stepped forward, telling everyone. The gate was now completely isolated from the outside. Even reinforcements couldn't enter unless they eliminated the final boss, or they were all wiped out. The gate wouldn't unseal. As a senior hunter, he would definitely be responsible for everyone's lives, but couldn't guarantee everyone would return alive. So, he proposed that hunters be rank and above form a subjugation team, leaving those low-level burdens to wait for death in place. And Sung Jinwoo with only ear-rank strength was among them. Soon, Wang Ji took all the survival supplies and headed deeper into the dungeon, while Sung Jinwoo led the remaining people toward the forest behind. Shortly after the two teams separated, Wang Ji complained that Sung Jinwoo was an idiot because the forest was white bear territory. Those were terrifying monsters that had killed S-rank hunters. Meanwhile, the female hunter in Sung Jinwoo's team suddenly called for everyone to stop. She pointed to the claw marks left by white bears ahead, telling everyone, "This entire forest is white bear habitat. We must return immediately before being surrounded by monsters." But Sung Jinwoo rejected her suggestion. He knew this was exactly why he wanted to go into the forest. Because compared to ice slayers with high intelligence, simple-minded white bears were easier to deal with. The large number of white bears here meant there were no monsters in the forest capable of killing white bears, so they didn't need to worry about more powerful monsters appearing. After explaining, Sung Jinwoo opened his system panel, buying cold weather clothing for everyone. This action directly stunned all team members because in their understanding, pocket space magic could only summon 2 or 3 D-rank items. For Sung Jinwoo to summon so many at once, he must be hiding his strength. Just as everyone was about to ask questions, sudden footsteps from deep in the forest interrupted them. The next second, a 10-meter-tall white bear charged out ferociously. Team members scattered in all directions. At this time, Sung Jinwoo stood in front of the white bear. This experience delivered to his doorstep was not to be wasted. Instantly, he switched his title to Wolf Slayer, which added damage against beast monsters. Facing the white bear's fierce pounce, Sunday Jinwoo dodged to jump high into the air, using only physical strength to punch the white bear's head. With a violent explosion, the white bear peacefully departed for reincarnation in another world. The scene once again stunned all team members. As night fell, everyone sat around the campfire eating white bear barbecue. But Sung Jinwoo quietly left the camp, walking alone deeper into the forest. Soon he was surrounded by hundreds of white bears. Seeing this, Sung Jinwoo smiled coldly. This number was about right. Come out, my shadow army. With these words, black shadows emerged from Sung Jinwoo's shadow. This is your first appearance. You know what to do, right? Go. Upon receiving the command, the shadow army moved like lightning toward the white bears, engaging them in battle. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo also learned about his soldiers' various abilities. Magic soldiers with unlimited mana and infantry that could quickly regenerate. This combat power far exceeded his expectations, except the mana consumption was quite high, requiring 1 MP per resurrection. As the White Bear army was unilaterally crushed, the White Bear King finally appeared. With his palm strike, space itself seemed to tear apart. Shadow soldiers continuously regenerated in the spatial rifts, soon draining Sung Jinwoo's mana. It seemed shadow soldiers couldn't defeat him. Igris, it's time to show me your true strength. Upon hearing this, Igris drew his great sword from the shadows, instantly appearing behind the White Bear King before the White Bear King could react. The great sword had already slashed his throat. The intense pain made the White Bear King frantically swing his claws and counterattack. However, Igris caught a brief opening, steadily driving his great sword into the White Bear King's paw. At the same time, the shadows he left while moving also acted like blades, severing the White Bear King's belly. Under Sung Jinwoo's amazed gaze, Igris defeated the White Bear King with overwhelming superiority. Watching Igris's final strike against the White Bear King, Sung Jinwoo couldn't help but gasp. If Igris had been using his sword from the beginning, he definitely wouldn't have been his match. As the battle ended, Sung Jinwoo had returned to his shadow. While he slowly walked toward the White Bear's corpse, saying in a commanding tone, "Arise." With the system's successful shadow extraction notification, an earth-shaking roar echoed throughout the forest. Then a 20 m tall giant bear appeared before Sung Jinwoo. Very good. From now on, you'll be called Tank. At the same time, outside by the gate, S-rank Baek Yunho was already arguing with S-rank Hwang Dong-soo. The conflict was over Sung Jinwoo. Baek Yunho learned from Section Chief and homing that Sung Jinwoo might be a second awakener and wanted to recruit him, while Hwang Dong-soo wanted to kill Sung Jinwoo to avenge his brother. Just as the S-rank hunters' battle was about to erupt, the Red Gate's light suddenly dimmed considerably. This meant many hunters clearing the dungeon had died. Those dead hunters were members of Wang Ji's team. Just as Sung Jinwoo predicted, they fell into the Ice Slayer's trap, surrounded by countless snowman monsters. Everyone except Wang Ji was killed by the monsters. At this time, an Ice Slayer riding a horse emerged from the forest. Wang Ji locked eyes with him. The fear that arose in his heart scared him so much he wet his pants. He fled into the forest like a stray dog. But the Ice Slayer had no intention of chasing him, instead deliberately leading him to Sung Jinwoo's camp. Soon, he saw the supposedly doomed team members casually chatting after dinner. At this moment, he was dumbfounded. He couldn't understand why these low-level hunters were still alive, and they had cold weather gear, food, and all kinds of supplies. If his hands hadn't been frozen, if he had filled his stomach, Ice Slayers would be nothing. In an instant, he directed all his failures' anger at these people. He prepared to rob their supplies, then kill those low-level hunters he considered selfish. However, just as he was about to act, Sung Jinwoo's palm struck toward the back of Wang Ji's head. Wang Ji flew out like a meteor from this strike, directly knocked unconscious. Those who abandon their companions to death have no right to spout nonsense here and bring so much trouble. Hearing this, everyone suddenly realized, all turning toward the source of killing intent behind them. Only then did they discover the camp was surrounded by over 20 Ice Slayers. So, there really are useful materials among the trash. Hearing this, Sung Jinwoo laughed disdainfully. The trash you mentioned wouldn't be referring to us, would it? The Ice Slayer leader was stunned by this response. How do you know our language? Sung Jinwoo was also confused, not understanding why he could communicate with them. Could it be because of the system? The Ice Slayer King also stated his purpose. He pointed to his subordinate beside him, who was exactly the one who had provoked Sung Jinwoo upon entering the dungeon. I want to introduce you to a friend. He told me there's a formidable human and wants to duel with you. However, before he could finish speaking, Sung Jinwoo instantly appeared behind the Ice Slayer King and with blood sprang through the air. That Ice Slayer immediately fell to his knees and died. Sung Jinwoo glanced disdainfully at the Ice Slayer King from the corner of his eye. Do you have anything else to say now? But the Ice Slayer King showed no grief for his subordinate death. Instead, laughing sinisterly. What an interesting fellow. Sung Jinwoo was also forced to retreat repeatedly by the terrifying pressure emanating from the Ice Slayer King. You're clearly not human. Why are you with humans? Sung Jinwoo was immediately stunned, thinking the other was talking nonsense. But the Ice Slayer King pointed to his own head, telling Sung Jinwoo that a command constantly echoed in his mind, kill humans. But when facing Sung Jinwoo, he couldn't hear that command. So, he ruled out the possibility that Sung Jinwoo was human. Therefore, he didn't want to be enemies with Sung Jinwoo. As long as he left those humans behind, the two might even become friends. Sung Jinwoo was shocked. Could that voice be a system-like command? If he wasn't human, what was he? Faced with the Ice Slayer King's proposal, Sung Jinwoo didn't respond, but instead prepared to extract some information about the system, asking who they really were and why they wanted to kill humans. But just as the Ice Slayer King was about to answer, his form froze like a computer crash, continuously repeating his previous proposal. Sung Jinwoo was stunned by the scene before him what was going on. Faced with the Ice Slayer King's persistent pressure, Sung Jinwoo firmly refused to hand over the humans behind him. Upon hearing this answer, the Ice Slayer King's expression instantly darkened. So, you're planning to fight us? Do you think you can overcome the numerical disadvantage? Hearing this, Sung Jinwoo grinned, who said, "We're at a disadvantage." With these words, countless shadow soldiers emerged from Sung Jinwoo's shadow. The leading shadow white bear directly stunned all team members. But seeing the scene, the Ice Slayer King remained unfazed. Just some petty tricks. However, before he could finish speaking, countless shadow soldiers charged like lightning into the Ice Slayer ranks, engaging them in fierce battle, watching the chaotic battle before him. Sung Jinwoo understood that while his army had numerical advantage, his mana wouldn't last long. Even though soldiers could continuously regenerate, if they were continuously slain, soldier numbers would still decrease. Although the shadows were strong enough to handle Ice Slayer soldiers after leveling up, the Ice Slayer King was the real problem. That guy's level was very high. Even if he and Igris joined forces, it would be difficult to win. While thinking, he glanced at the unconscious Wang Ji. If he could extract a stronger shadow, that could change the tide of battle. Soon, Sung Jinwoo devised a perfect plan to defeat the Ice Slayer King. He concentrated power in his left leg, charging toward the Ice Slayer King with a sword step, while the long sword at his feet was also kicked toward Wang Ji. Then, Sung Jinwoo jumped and slashed toward the Ice Slayer King's head. But the Ice Slayer King stepped back to dodge the attack and smoothly stepped on Sung Jinwoo's dagger. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo's dagger suddenly burst with several lightning bolts. The dagger in his other hand thrust straight toward the Ice Slayer King's head. However, this move was also easily blocked, and the Ice Slayer King counterattacked, kicking Sung Jinwoo hard in the stomach, sending him flying dozens of meters. Just as the Ice Slayer King was about to press his advantage, a brilliant orb of light suddenly appeared in the sky, hurtling toward the Ice Slayer King. This was the full power strike from countless magic soldiers' self-destruction. Sung Jinwoo looked at the scene before him and grinned. Thanks to these magic soldiers buying time, now it was time for the Joker to make his entrance. He stared at the sea of flames caused by the explosion. Stop playing around. I know you won't die that easily. Come out already. As soon as he finished speaking, a black figure slowly emerged from the sea of flames. The Ice Slayer King laughed maniacally. Your soldiers aren't even worthy of giving me a scratch. After saying this, he lunged at Sung Jinwoo with a sword strike. But Sung Jinwoo showed no intention of dodging the attack. At this moment, the girl watching from the side suddenly shouted anxiously at him, "Watch out behind you." It turned out that Wang Ji, after regaining consciousness, wanted revenge on Sung Jinwoo. He picked up the long sword that had been kicked near him earlier and launched a sneak attack on Sung Jinwoo. In an instant, he was caught in a pincer attack from front and back. The Ice Slayer King sneered mockingly at Sung Jinwoo. It seems that human and I have the same goal, to kill you. However, the next second, the Ice Slayer King's pupils contracted violently. Just as I expected, Sung Jinwoo smiled smugly. In an instant, his shadow spread wildly in all directions. Igris, hidden in the darkness, pierced Wang Ji's heart with a single sword strike. Sung Jinwoo glanced at Wang Ji behind him. The moment he stood up, his corpse was torn apart by the shadows. Shadow extraction successful. Please name the soldier. Sung Jinwoo looked at the warrior kneeling before him and nodded with satisfaction. He's gotten bigger after being enhanced. Since you follow a king, from now on, you'll be called King Iron. While Sung Jinwoo was naming the shadows had already been defeated by the Ice Slayer King. Just as the Ice Slayer King's dagger was about to strike Sung Jinwoo, King Iron suddenly let out a roar. This was his skill, Taunt Shout, which could provoke enemies and force them to attack him. Sure enough, the Ice Slayer King, caught in the taunted state, abandoned his attack on Sung Jinwoo and turned to stab at Iron. However, Iron was thick-skinned and sturdy, so the Ice Slayer King's attacks couldn't deal fatal damage to him. But Iron's movements were slow, and he couldn't attack the Ice Slayer King either. With such slow movements, you think you can beat me? Not a chance, Sung Jinwoo grinned after hearing this. Oh really? What about 3 against 1? As soon as he finished speaking, the fallen Igris was revived again. The 3 of them began launching group attacks against the Ice Slayer King. While the Ice Slayer King was continuously dodging attacks, Sung Jinwoo caught his opening and pierced through the Ice Slayer King's arm with one hand. Paralysis effect activated, bleeding effect activated. Sung Jinwoo couldn't believe that the Ice Slayer King could avoid vital points even in this situation. Then the system displayed due to Ice Slayer King's excessively high defense. Abnormal effects are automatically removed. On the other side of the battlefield, the White Bear had already led his minions to kill all of the Ice Slayer King's subordinates. Seeing the scene, the Ice Slayer King flew into a rage and charged madly at Sung Jinwoo. He understood that as long as he killed him, all the shadow soldiers would disappear. Facing the attack, Sung Jinwoo drew his dagger and threw it at the Ice Slayer King. But the Ice Slayer King easily dodged the attack, while not forgetting to taunt, "You fool. Are you giving up your weapon now?" Taking advantage of the Ice Slayer King's momentary carelessness, Sung Jinwoo activated Ruler's Hand. The original dagger suddenly changed direction and accelerated toward the Ice Slayer King. Just as he was about to dodge, Iron suddenly burst out from underground and tightly grabbed the Ice Slayer King. The magic soldier's fireball magic also came crashing down at the same time. Iron was directly blown to ashes, but surprisingly the Ice Slayer King only had his clothes burned off and suffered no substantial damage. Immediately, he gathered energy and prepared to charge at Sung Jinwoo. But just then, a sword wound suddenly appeared on the Ice Slayer King's lower abdomen. It turned out that Sung Jinwoo had used shadow teleportation to appear in front of the Ice Slayer King. The paralysis effect triggered again. Iron seized this opportunity and swung his giant sword, viciously smashing it toward the Ice Slayer King. As the explosion from this strike ended, a system notification appeared. Dungeon Master has been eliminated. Even so, Iron continued to pound the ground relentlessly. Sung Jinwoo quickly stopped him. I didn't expect that even after becoming a shadow, he'd still be this dumb. After recalling the Shadow Army, the portal to leave the dungeon opened. The people waiting outside saw hunters emerging from the portal one after another and were so excited they nearly cried, thinking that Wang Ji had actually succeeded in conquering this dungeon. However, they didn't see Wang Ji even after the portal disappeared. Not even a single B rank or higher hunter. At this moment, Baek Yunho noticed Sung Jinwoo looking relaxed. He grabbed his shoulder. Wait a minute. Let's have a chat. But Sung Jinwoo showed no appreciation and directly brushed off Baek Yunho's hand. This action infuriated Baek Yunho. This isn't a request, but an order, or you could understand it as a threat. Our guild lost 9 members this time. As a guild master, don't I have the right to ask you a few questions? Sung Jinwoo glanced at him dismissively after hearing this. So, what? I saved those remaining 3 people. Since you're the guild master, shouldn't you thank me first? This response left Baek Yunho speechless. Helplessly, he could only let Sung Jinwoo leave. Then he looked at the section chief beside him. I can sense an unusual power within his body, one that even makes me feel fear. So, at any cost, we must get him to join our guild. Meanwhile, Sung Jinwoo was driving home feeling frustrated. During the process of extracting the Ice Slayer King's shadow due to the huge gap in ability values, all 3 attempts failed. He toyed with the short sword dropped by the Ice Slayer King. Pondering for a moment, it seemed he needed to hurry up and get stronger. It's time to go to that place. When the gates of hell opened, a quest pop-up suddenly appeared before Sung Jinwoo. Please eliminate 10,000 hell demons. Rewards: 1 item of choice from the shop, 20 attribute points, and 1 hidden reward. After reading the quest, Sung Jinwoo excitedly clenched his fist. This quest reward is quite generous. Once he completed the quest, he could get items worth over 10 billion from the shop. Therefore, Sung Jinwoo didn't hesitate to push open the door to the trial grounds. Immediately, he was stunned by the scene before him. He didn't expect this to be a realistic dungeon. Its scope even covered the entire H country. While Sung Jinwoo was in shock, countless demon guards appeared before him. He mercilessly drew his short sword and charged at the demon army. As he progressed further, the demons grew stronger. And at the same time, the experience he gained from killing monsters increased. Normally, it would take conquering 9 C-rank dungeons to level up once. But here, it only took 4 hours to gain 1 level. However, as his level got higher, the experience needed for leveling up increased, making the leveling speed progressively slower. When he last met Baek Yunho, he felt that his current level and strength hadn't reached S-rank hunter standards yet. Therefore, to become stronger, he needed to accelerate his leveling. He immediately decided to enter the 2nd floor of Demon Castle to challenge stronger demons. As the pass was crushed, the light from the teleportation magic circle between the clouds shot straight into the sky. Sung Jinwoo looked toward the direction of the observation tower, summoned the White Bear King tank, and rode it toward the magic circle, eliminating all the demons along the way. While Sung Jinwoo was frantically leveling up, several major incidents had occurred in the outside world, throwing the Hunter Association into chaos. First, in the Lord's Chamber of an A-rank dungeon in the eastern part of M Country, a humanoid magical beast appeared. The magical power emanating from it far exceeded the dungeon standards, easily knocking out all the highly hunters who were conquering the dungeon. However, it didn't kill them, but instead carried those hunters out of the dungeon. The second incident made even S-rank Baek Yunho tremble with fear upon learning about it. That incident was related to the S-rank gate on Jeju Island 4 years ago. Back then, all S-rank hunters had jointly attempted to conquer it 3 times, but all ended in failure. Those ant magical beasts were ridiculously powerful. Baek Yunho nearly died there back then. Fortunately, those ants couldn't cross the sea, so the Hunter Association decided to ignore them, leaving them on the island to kill each other. However, for years later, they had undergone a mutation. An hour ago, in the waters near our country, someone discovered the corpse of a winged ant. Those creatures had evolved to a shocking degree. Therefore, the Hunter Association urgently summoned S-rank hunters from around the world to discuss how to handle this matter. At this time, in M Country's Hunter Management Bureau, the humanoid magical beast who had emerged from the dungeon was being held in an interrogation room. According to him, he was a hunter from H Country who had been trapped in a gate 10 years ago and found himself in M Country when he next opened his eyes. This unprecedented incident was completely unbelievable to the interrogators. They believed the man was a magical beast with human memories. The upcoming interrogation would require S-rank hunter participation, or the entire city might be at risk. The only S-rank hunter in M Country who spoke H Country's language was Hwang Dong-soo, the main hunter of the Scavenger Guild. At this moment, he was on his way to the interrogation room looking quite depressed the entire way because he had received news that Sung Jinwoo had died in a red gate. So, he felt regretful that he couldn't personally avenge his brother. But after he participated in the interrogation work, his face suddenly showed a sinister bloody smile. Because during his conversation with the man, he learned that the man's name was Sung Hwan. And coincidentally, he was Sung Jinwoo's father. Hwang Dong-soo immediately saw this as heaven, giving him a second chance for revenge. He directly announced to those outside that the man was a magical beast disguised as a human and revealed that he knew Sung Jinwoo to provoke Sung Hwan. Hwang Dong-soo also told him that Sung Jinwoo had already been killed by him. After hearing this news, Sung Hwan was stunned for a moment. Then an explosion occurred in the interrogation room. The blast devoured the entire building. At this moment, the director of the Hunter Bureau, who had escaped the building in embarrassment, stared blankly at the ruins before him. He couldn't believe that Hunter Hwang Dong-soo couldn't even withstand a single punch from that man before fainting. Before things got worse, he had to report this immediately. Meanwhile, Sung Jinwoo, unaware of his father's appearance, was rushing toward the upper floors of Demon Castle at an amazing speed. Soon, he led the Shadow Legion to sweep through 50 floors. Here he encountered the first lordly demon, the fire god who commanded an army. That guy looked dangerous. So Sung Jinwoo decided to take action personally. He ordered the Shadow Legion to deal with the fire god's guards. Although the guards were highly demons, the shadow soldiers had also improved their levels considerably during this time. As long as he gained attribute points, he could strengthen the shadow soldiers. After the attribute points were increased, his magical power was also quite sufficient. Looking at the lazy fire god, this massive creature before him, he should be able to easily defeat it with his speed advantage. However, the next second, he was proven wrong. The fire god's body suddenly disappeared from its original position, appearing above the Shadow Legion, swinging the staff in its hands toward the soldiers. In an instant, all soldiers on the battlefield were scattered. Seeing this, Sung Jinwoo charged at the fire god with a sword strike, angrily punching toward its head. The fire god struck by this blow flew backward like a meteor, not stopping until it had crashed through more than 200 buildings. Sung Jinwoo looked at his own fist. Just throwing a punch in anger had sent it flying so far. It seemed that putting all attribute points into strength was indeed the right choice. At this moment, a system notification appeared in his mind again. Fire God activates skill, rage, all ability values increased by 50%. Fire God loses pain sensation. Immediately after, the Fire God activated its roar skill. The emanating power forced Sung Jinwoo to defend with all his might. The Fire God seized the moment when Sung Jinwoo briefly couldn't move, charging at him at full speed. Sung Jinwoo couldn't dodge this attack at all. Just as he was about to be struck by the fire god, he shouted behind him, "King Iron." Upon receiving the command, Iron immediately threw the shield in his hands towards Sung Jinwoo. After catching the shield, Sung Jinwoo immediately held it in front of him, blocking the fire god's earth-shattering strike. The power of this strike caused the ground to crack. Seeing that his attack was blocked, the fire god launched even more frenzied consecutive attacks on Sung Jinwoo's shield. Fortunately, Sung Jinwoo's strength could hold up. While continuously defending, Sung Jinwoo also found the fire god's weakness. During the gap, when it was preparing for its next attack, Sung Jinwoo abandoned defense and charged at the fire god with a quick step. But just as his short sword was about to hit the fire god, it easily dodged with a back step. Instantly, Sung Jinwoo was back in a passive situation. He didn't expect this guy to deliberately show an opening to lure him in. Facing the fire god's staff swinging toward him again, Sung Jinwoo had nowhere to hide while in midair. If only I could move his body. Wait, move the body. In an instant, Sung Jinwoo gathered magical power in his palm and activated Ruler's hand on the fire god. Even if he couldn't push that guy away, using the reaction force to push himself away could still save him. Just as Sung Jinwoo predicted, he was pushed back and narrowly dodged the attack. Sung Jinwoo carefully examined the fire god before him. The short sword could only injure its head, but analyzing its movements while aiming for the head was too dangerous. He needed to control its movements first, making it unable to escape. Soon, Sung Jinwoo noticed a tall building about to collapse nearby. He immediately thought of a plan to trap the fire god. He kept attracting the fire god to run around the city. The moment the fire god reached below the tall building, Sung Jinwoo activated his sprint skill and charged directly at the building, using both feet to forcefully bring down the building, trapping the fire god underneath. Sung Jinwoo also seized the opportunity to stab his sword into the fire god's head, killing it instantly with the fire god's death. It also dropped several items. Top-tier magical item materials, World Tree Fragment, Demon Lord Earring with set effects, and a Greed Spider that could double magical damage. Just touching it, he could feel the surging magical power within. Unfortunately, he didn't have any magic-type skills, so he called over a magic soldier and gave the Greed Spider to him, having him use magic on the building across the way. The magic soldier immediately cast a fireball at the building. Sure enough, with the Greed Spider's amplification, the fireball's explosion range was twice as large as before. It seemed this item worked even when transferred to others. Magic-type hunters would go crazy for this. Afterward, Sung Jinwoo continued sweeping toward the higher floors of Demon Castle. One lord after another was defeated by Sung Jinwoo, and he also obtained the second piece of the Demon Lord set equipment. The set effect was equivalent to gaining 5 levels. Sung Jinwoo looked at the teleportation array leading to the upper floors before him. Just one more Lord kill, and he could complete the set, but the demon killing quest had ended and his stamina was at its limit, so he couldn't continue upward. He could only accept the quest rewards and continue the challenge next time. The first reward was being able to choose any item from the shop. But Sung Jinwoo didn't choose those weapons. Instead, he selected a cursed random box because conquering dungeons could yield equipment with decent attributes. And when doing double daily quests before, he could choose between blessed and cursed random boxes. However, subsequent quests had no additional rewards. Last time from the blessed random box, he got the Demon Castle key. Thanks to it, he could rapidly level up and obtain so many precious items. So, Sung Jinwoo curiously opened the cursed box. Unexpectedly, this time it was another key. However, there was no information about it. Sung Jinwoo could only helplessly store it in his item's space first, then collect the second reward. This time, he put all 20 attribute points into intelligence. And the final reward was actually a blueprint for making holy water of life, which could cure any disease. Could this mean Mom could wake up because of this? The 3 materials for making holy water of life. The world tree fragment was obtained from killing the fire god on the 50th floor. The Echo Forest spring water was obtained from the Lord on the 75th floor, and the last item remained purified Demon King's blood. Perhaps this material was in the hands of the ultimate Lord at the top of Demon Castle. During his week in Demon Castle, Sung Jinwoo's level increased by 16% to know what level his strength had actually reached. His jaw dropped in shock because he had personally experienced this situation. 2 years ago, Hunter Cha Haein had the same result. It wasn't that the testing device had malfunctioned, but that the device simply couldn't measure the magical power limit of the man before them. This person was H country's 10th S rank hunter. The staff immediately told Sung Jinwoo that his magical power required a precision measuring device to test, so he should return to the association in 3 days. The words "cannot be measured" immediately caused an uproar throughout the venue. Even Cho Jong-in, known as humanity's ultimate weapon, was attracted over. He was also a hunter with S rank strength. His ability was fire-type magic. Any casual skill could destroy a building, and he was also the leader of H country's top guild, Hunter Guild. Hunter Guild was the country's only guild with 2 S-rank hunters. Sung Jinwoo was momentarily stunned seeing Cho Jang, involuntarily recalling his title as humanity's weakest weapon, which was bestowed by the man before him. At this moment, Cho Jong-in was already standing in front of Sung Jinwoo. He carefully examined Sung Jinwoo. With such tremendous magical power, it seems we don't need the measuring device. He is the 10th top-tier hunter. I'm Cho Jong-in, chairman of Hunter Guild. I'd like to invite you to join our Hunter Guild. But before he could finish speaking, Sung Jinwoo walked past him. Sorry, I don't have time. With only 3 days until the second test, there were too many things to do. He needed to hurry to Demon Castle to make medicine. However, the rejected Cho Jong-in didn't feel embarrassed. After all, there would be plenty of opportunities in the future. Leaving so quietly like that, he seems to be an excellent assassin-type hunter. Just then, Baek Yunho suddenly rushed over at extreme speed. Cho Jong smiled and greeted him. Boss Baek, what brings you here? From White Tiger Tower to the Hunter Association is quite far. Looking at your breathless state, you must have transformed while running here, right? Could it be that the mysterious helper in White Tiger Guild's previous training accident was Hunter Sung Jinwoo? Let me give you a friendly reminder. Judging by his attitude just now, he won't join your guild so easily. The moment Baek Yunho heard this, he understood he was one step too late. This is troublesome. Of all people, it had to be discovered by this sly old fox. At this time, Sung Jinwoo was at the hospital taking care of his mother with sleeping sickness. Just as he was leaving the hospital room, he suddenly discovered Section Chief Wu waiting for him at the door. Was it you who killed the magical beast in the double dungeon? Thanks to you, I realized how poor my judgment was. It turned out Section Chief Wu had come to invite Sung Jinwoo to join the Surveillance Division. The Surveillance Division was an organization that regulated and punished hunters. But Sung Jinwoo didn't want to get involved with them. But just as he was about to leave, Section Chief Wu called out to him, saying he wanted to introduce Sung Jinwoo to someone. That person was the chairman of the Hunter Association, Gao Gunhai, who was also an S-rank awakener. He came clean and told Sung Jinwoo that the reason for arranging the second assessment was to meet with Sung Jinwoo first, wanting to invite him to join the Hunter Association and gain the authority to manage other Hunter Associations. After hearing this, Sung Jinwoo curiously asked why he was chosen. Gao Gunhai explained the current situation to him. The country was no longer supported by the government, but by hunters who protected citizens from magical beasts. The 5 major guilds had finally achieved balance, and no matter which guild Sung Jinwoo joined, it would inevitably break this balance, causing disputes between hunter associations. Sung Jinwoo also knew this was a good proposal. If Chairman Gao Gunhai supported him from behind, he would definitely prosper in the future. Sung Jinwoo also saw that Gao Gunhai didn't have much life left. He needed someone to take over his position to restrain hunter associations and maintain social peace. However, what Gao Gunhai never expected was that Sung Jinwoo would refuse such generous conditions. Sung Jinwoo didn't tell Gao Gunhai about his ability to continuously level up. He could only explain that he wanted to fight magical beasts and only dungeons were where he belonged. Once he joined the association, he wouldn't be able to participate in highly dungeon conquests. Hearing the statement, Gao Gunhai was stunned. He could sense from Sung Jinwoo's eyes that his words were sincere. This made his heart, which had been calm for many years, beat with vitality again. He couldn't help but sigh that if he could be 20 years younger, he would also want to fight alongside such a young person. Sung Jinwoo also left after refusing Gao Gunhai. As he was leaving, he said to Section Chief Wu, "You have good judgment, but the person who killed the magical beast in the double dungeon wasn't me." This statement shocked Section Chief Wu greatly. Who exactly was the person who conquered that dungeon? At this time, in a hospital in M Country, the deputy director of the management bureau approached the severely injured Huang Dong-su, asking him whether Sung Huan was really a magical beast. Then he pulled out a video recording and showed it to Huang Dong-su. They had never seen a magical beast that helped humans. However, Huang Dong-su still insisted that Sung Huan was a disguised magical beast and asked the deputy director in return, "Have you ever heard of humans appearing in gates?" The deputy director couldn't refute this as he had no evidence. He told Huang Dong-su that the man had disappeared after beating him up. The statement immediately reminded him of that humiliating memory. That man possessed the power to easily crush him, and after beating him up, he threatened that if he ever returned to H Country, he would make sure he died with his eyes open. He immediately contacted his guild. He wanted to mobilize all forces to take revenge on Sung Huan. Meanwhile, Sung Jinwoo, who had just returned home, decided to buy some fire-resistant protective equipment to quickly climb to the top of Demon Castle. However, he currently had no money, so he wanted to sell the Greed Spider for cash. But auctions required disclosing the source of acquisition, and as an E-rank hunter with such an incredible piece of equipment, it would definitely attract attention. His S-rank certification would still take some time to obtain. At least, he needed records of conquering gates to avoid raising too much suspicion. So to gain qualification to enter the auction house, Sung Jinwoo joined a dungeon conquest team. And to avoid exposing his S-rank strength prematurely, he chose to become a logistics miner. Due to the large scale of highly dungeons, a single attack team couldn't handle everything, so there was division of labor. Those participating in dungeon conquest were the attack team. Those mining in dungeons were the extraction team. And those recovering magical beast corpses were the recovery team. The attack team would first kill all magical beasts except the Ultimate Lord. Then the extraction and recovery teams would go in to collect materials. After there were no high V-value items left in the dungeon, the attack team would kill the Lord and close the gate. Sung Jinwoo carefully examined the highly gate before him. He really wanted to go in and see it soon. Just then, multiple figures emerged from the gate. It was the attack team coming out. They were from H Country's strongest hunter guild. The captain was the S-rank hunter he had met once before. To avoid being recognized, Sung Jinwoo quickly pulled down his miner's hat. At this moment, surprised exclamations suddenly came from the crowd. They didn't expect Hunter's Guild's second in command to come along too. She was S-rank hunter Cha Haeun. Sung Jinwoo could see that the magical power emanating from her was even stronger than Cho Jong-eun's. She could even match Hunter Association Chairman Gao Gunhai. At this time, after detecting something unusual, Cha Haeun glanced towards Sung Jinwoo's direction. "What's going on? I clearly sensed a powerful aura just now. How did it suddenly disappear so perfectly? Could it be my imagination?" Then she unconsciously covered her mouth with cloth and kept coughing. Sung Jinwoo couldn't help but marvel at how strong this woman's perception was. As the attack team left, Sung Jinwoo also followed the foreman into the dungeon. The moment he stepped into the dungeon, an explosive magical aura hit him head-on. It was the fluctuation emitted by the dungeon lord. Sung Jinwoo could clearly feel that this lord was much stronger than the fire god in Demon Castle. Although both Cho Jong-eun and Cha Haeun, who wanted to conquer it, were quite capable. Successfully killing the lord here would definitely require perfect team coordination. After casually exploring around, he joined the ore mining work. His efficiency in mining ore immediately stunned everyone present. They called Sung Jinwoo a natural-born miner. Soon the foreman came to call Sung Jinwoo out for lunch, and Sung Jinwoo took advantage of the time when no one was in the dungeon to walk alone toward the depths of the dungeon. Soon, a sleeping magical beast lord appeared before him. With his current strength, killing the lord should be more than enough. He immediately summoned his short sword, wanting to finish off the lord directly. But just then, a cold female voice came from behind him. "What are you doing here?" The person was Cha Haeun. Sung Jinwoo immediately stopped what he was doing and discreetly put away the weapon in his hand, explaining to her that he had gotten lost and ended up here. Hearing this explanation, Cha Haeun didn't become suspicious and told him to quickly leave the Ultimate Lord's area. If the Lord woke up, everyone in the dungeon would be killed. Sung Jinwoo immediately complied and brushed past Cha Haeun. But at this moment, Cha Haeun suddenly became dazed and immediately called out to stop Sung Jinwoo. She walked up to him and carefully smelled his scent, then exclaimed without regard for her image, "You don't have that smell on you." Then she grabbed Sung Jinwoo's work badge and questioned the authenticity of his hunter identity. Only after seeing the hunter certificate clearly did she let go of Sung Jinwoo and awkwardly let him leave. Cha Hae-in stared blankly at Sung Jinwoo's retreating figure. Could it be because his level is too low that he doesn't have the stench? But she quickly dismissed this answer because she had also smelled a pleasant scent on Sung Jinwoo. Soon, Sung Jinwoo returned to the extraction team, and he learned from his co-workers that because Cha Hae-in was afraid the ultimate lord might suddenly emerge, she would patrol the dungeon during rest time. Moreover, Cha Hae-in had a special ability. She could smell the scent of hunters. Just being near hunters would cause her breathing difficulties, so she always covered her nose with a handkerchief. Only then did Sung Jinwoo understand why she had suddenly asked if he was a hunter. She couldn't smell the hunter scent on me. Even the Ice Slayer King couldn't hear the sound of killing me. What kind of existence am I exactly? As today's mining work ended, Sung Jinwoo had roughly understood the process of conquering high-level dungeons, so there was no need to continue working as a miner. After all, under Cha Hae-in watchful eye, he was too easily exposed. At this moment, the foreman suddenly asked Sung Jinwoo if he had time to come to another conquest team from Hunter Guild tomorrow. After learning that there were no S-rank hunters on the other side, Sung Jinwoo readily agreed. Meanwhile, Cha Hae-in had just returned home and made a phone call to her guild. "Help me look up information about Sung Jinwoo from today's extraction team." She couldn't believe that someone who got lost in such a large dungeon would precisely walk to the Lord's chamber. But as soon as she finished speaking, the other party responded. It turned out that Cho Jong-in had asked the same question yesterday. However, after investigation, this E-rank hunter's information was surprisingly completely sealed by the Hunter Association. After getting the news, Cha Hae-in hung up the phone. An E-rank hunter that even the Hunter Guild leader wants to know about and whose information is hidden by the Hunter Association. He's definitely not simple. Why is he different from so many other hunters? He's the first hunter to emit a pleasant scent. The next day, Sung Jinwoo arrived at the dungeon gate on time. At this moment, the conquest team captain suddenly came to the extraction team, wanting to borrow a porter from them. Everyone stepped back after hearing this. This job was too dangerous. If these low-level hunters were caught in the magical beast attack waves, they would surely be obliterated. But at this moment, Sung Jinwoo suddenly stepped forward. He wanted to observe how the attack team coordinated in battle so he could command his Shadow Legion better in the future. And so Sung Jinwoo followed the squad toward the gate. Although Hunter Association's second squad didn't have any S-rank hunters, they boasted a luxurious lineup of 11 A-rank and 6 B-rank hunters. As long as they coordinated well, clearing an A-rank dungeon should be quite manageable. But as Sung Jinwoo looked at the gate before him, he felt an ominous premonition in his heart, just like that time when he stood before the Red Gate. As soon as everyone entered the dungeon, the ground began to shake violently, and the entire attack team immediately went into combat mode. Next, countless red figures came charging out from the depths of the dungeon. Sung Jinwoo was shocked at the sight. Those figures were dungeon jackals. However, they were no match for the attack team members and were quickly eliminated completely. The captain looked around curiously. What's going on? How could these jackals appear in an A-rank dungeon? They're C-rank magical beasts, and in an A-rank dungeon, they'd only serve as food for other powerful magical beasts. So, their numbers should be extremely low. But the jackals here were moving in packs. Without food, how did they manage to survive? At that moment, Sung Jinwoo noticed collar marks on the jackal corpses. These weren't ordinary jackals. They had been deliberately tamed. It seems the Lord here is an intelligent, magical beast. Just as Sung Jinwoo finished speaking, a terrifying pressure suddenly emanated from deep within the dungeon, making it hard for those highly hunters to breathe. Immediately after, an entire army of orcs appeared and surrounded everyone, continuously launching attacks on the squad members. The A-rank mage in the squad immediately counterattacked with magic, but the orc that took the hit head-on only stepped back half a step. This incredible magic resistance stunned everyone. Meanwhile, the other team members fighting the orcs were all at a disadvantage. The squad captain hurriedly had everyone switch formations and go on the defensive. He couldn't understand why there were so many orcs in the dungeon. Each of these highly magical beasts had the strength of an A-rank hunter, and now they had to face 22 orcs. But the attack team only had 17 people, and many of them were B-rank hunters. Soon, those B-rank hunters were wounded and battered. The healer at the back was continuously treating the wounded, but they never expected these orcs to actually understand battle tactics. After holding down the melee hunters, all the remaining orcs turned their attention to the mages and healers. Just as the only healer was about to be slaughtered by an orc, Sung Jinwoo, who was working as a porter, decided to step in. He activated his stealth ability and killed the orc that was about to attack with a single strike. The healer stared in shock at the orc corpse that had just vanished before his eyes. What on earth had just happened? At the same time, the other orcs fighting the hunters suddenly had their strength drastically weakened. It turned out Sung Jinwoo, in order to avoid exposing his identity, chose not to directly kill the orcs, but instead helped the hunters by weakening their strength from the shadows. In an instant, the tide of battle turned. The weakened orcs were quickly defeated by the hunters one by one. They couldn't believe they had managed to defeat the giant orcs. At this moment, the team's mage, Little Black, glanced at Sung Jinwoo nearby. She possessed the ability to see invisible creatures. So, she had witnessed everything Sung Jinwoo had done. The healer then ran to the team captain and told him about how the orc had suddenly been cut in half midair. Someone must have secretly used magic. So, he asked the other mage, "Did you do this?" The mage shook his head. "I don't have that kind of power. My telekinetic magic can barely control them for 2 seconds. And our team doesn't have any assassination-type curse mages either." Little Black agreed. She's staring intently at the guilty-looking Sung Jinwoo, but didn't expose him. She thought to herself that Sung Jinwoo must have reasons for hiding his identity, so she'd wait and see. The captain was also curious since the giant orc's movements in the latter half of the battle were indeed strange and easily defeated. But even so, no one suspected Sung Jinwoo, who only had E-rank hunter strength, and the topic was dropped. The other team members asked the captain if they should continue raiding the dungeon. The captain thought for a moment, if this raid succeeded, he could become an official raid team captain. But he was a wise captain who didn't want too many team members to sacrifice their lives. So he announced they would abandon this raid mission. He had to be responsible for every team member's life. Hearing this news, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and hurried toward the dungeon exit. However, at that moment, something unexpected happened. The exit was suddenly sealed by a barrier created with advanced magic. Just as the mages joined forces to break the barrier, a terrifying wave of psychic energy swept over everyone. The next second, the mages began coughing up blood and collapsed to their knees. This was a curse spellcast by the boss just as they were about to cast holy magic to dispel it. The sound of footsteps came from behind them. They turned around to see an army of over 50 magical beasts appearing before them. In an instant, the entire team fell into deep despair. At this moment, the leading orc suddenly walked toward the hunter captain. Incredibly, the orc actually spoke. "I wanted to meet you humans." Little Black immediately told the captain that this orc was a puppet and the speaker wasn't him. She warned the captain not to trust his words as it was definitely a trap. Then the orc spoke again. "I am the high priest of the orcs. Either become my opponent and be killed by my soldiers or follow me inside." The captain had no choice but to give everyone a chance at survival. He could only follow the orc into the boss room. At this moment, he quietly called Sung Jinwoo over, saying that if they encountered the ultimate boss, they would attack the boss together. No matter what, they had to break through this blocking barrier and let Sung Jinwoo escape to contact other raid teams while the boss's attention was on them. By the time the next raid team arrives, you'll probably already be dead. Are you planning to die together with the boss? The captain smiled bitterly. Our goal isn't to get out of the dungeon alive, but to close the portal. At this moment, the team healer also approached Sung Jinwoo, handing him a notebook with a will written in it. "If you successfully escape, please deliver this to my family." The other hunters followed suit. Sung Jinwoo could only reluctantly help them keep the items safe. Meanwhile, in the outside world, Cha Haeun came to the mining team looking for Sung Jinwoo. When she learned he had entered an A-rank dungeon as a porter, she was very surprised. She stared at the portal deep in thought. It seemed she hadn't been wrong last time. Yesterday, what Sung Jinwoo was holding in the boss room was indeed a weapon. Then she prepared to enter the dungeon to see what secret Sung Jinwoo was hiding. However, she had forgotten to bring a weapon today. So, she asked the mining team captain to borrow one, but the captain handed her a mining pickaxe since that was the only thing their collection team had that could serve as a weapon. Cha Haeun wordlessly returned the pickaxe to the captain and prepared to enter the dungeon empty-handed. But thinking that having a weapon for self-defense would be good if she encountered powerful magical beasts, she blushed and turned back, taking the pickaxe from the captain's hands. On the other side, the people in the dungeon had now entered the boss room. In an instant, hundreds of giant orcs appeared before them while the orc high priest sat on his throne, staring at them. "Humans, are you afraid of me?" Just a single sentence emanating magical power was enough to suppress everyone until they couldn't breathe. They were simply not on the same level. If a fight broke out, the team members wouldn't stand a chance. The captain asked the high priest with a trembling body why he had called them here. If he wanted to kill them, the soldiers alone would be enough. Of course, it's for entertainment. I'll kill you one by one for the remaining time to entertain my soldiers. After saying this, his gaze fell on Sung Jinwoo. However, there's one strange fellow mixed in among you humans. After getting this answer, the captain's face showed terror. He never expected that in the enemy's eyes, they were just toys to be trampled on at will. He angrily issued an attack command to his team members. However, what he never expected was that all his teammates had lost their fighting ability due to fear. Even so, he still used all his strength to slash at the orc high priest. But the high priest simply blew a breath at him and blocked his attack. Then he pointed at him. Reverse gravity magic. The next second, the captain was pinned to the ground by multiplied gravity. Seeing this, the high priest pointed at him again. Gravity acceleration. Next, the captain's body flew rapidly around the hall, constantly crashing into the walls. Just as he was about to be killed by the impact, the high priest's pupils suddenly contracted. It turned out Sung Jinwoo had stepped in to save the captain. Sung Jinwoo stared at the captain lying on the ground, barely alive. This is the Hunter Association's dungeon, so I shouldn't interfere. But I have a question for you. Can I handle the magical beasts here? The captain looked at Sung Jinwoo in anguish. We're counting on you from now on. At the same time, the high priest sent his subordinate generals to attack Sung Jinwoo. But Sung Jinwoo simply made a gripping motion with his hand toward him, and the orc general's body was pinned in midair. As Sung Jinwoo exerted force, that orc shot backward like a cannonball, crashing hard into the ceiling. This scene immediately caught the high priest's interest. He immediately ordered all his subordinates to attack Sung Jinwoo. And seeing the scene, Sung Jinwoo smiled confidently. This is the first time I've encountered such powerful enemies. Come out, my shadow army. However, upon seeing the shadow soldiers, the orc priest showed complete disdain. You're going to fight me with such shabby soldiers. But Sung Jinwoo smiled confidently. Underestimating them would be very dangerous. As soon as he finished speaking, an intense dark energy spread from Sung Jinwoo's body in all directions, carefully enveloping half the palace. This was a professional skill Sung Jinwoo learned after reaching level 70, Monarch's Domain. All soldiers covered by shadows would have their abilities enhanced by 50%. The team members were all stunned when they saw the shadow soldiers. Because the world's publicly acknowledged strongest summoner profession could only summon 2 summoned beasts at most. They couldn't believe a human could possess such terrifying magical power. To test Sung Jinwoo's strength, the orc priest sent a squad of orcs to charge at his army. King Iron immediately used his skill, Provocation Trap. However, due to the orcs' excessively high abilities, the provocation had no effect. Frustrated, King Iron could only swing his axe and charge at the orc squad, using brute force to engage them in close combat. On the other side of the battlefield, Igris moved like an elegant knight, weaving through the orc squad. Sung Jinwoo also drew his dagger and continuously slaughtered the orcs in front of him. The knight and the team exclaimed upon seeing the scene that Sung Jinwoo's close combat skills were on par with Vice President Cha Hae-in. They couldn't understand why such a powerful hunter would work as a logistics porter. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo was carefully observing the battlefield situation. His shadow soldiers numbered only 1/4 of the orcs, and due to their lower defense, each shadow soldier had to be reborn 3 or 4 times to subdue one orc. Now, he had to reduce the number of enemy soldiers. But at that moment, a violent explosion suddenly occurred behind Sung Jinwoo. In an instant, all the shadow soldiers were destroyed and began a new round of resurrection. It turned out the high priest had used large-scale fire magic from behind. He had discovered that each time shadow soldiers were reborn, they would drain Sung Jinwoo's magical power. By accelerating the destruction of shadow soldiers, Sung Jinwoo would become a lamb for slaughter once his magical power was drained. At the same time, Sung Jinwoo also saw the orc priest's weakness. From beginning to end, the 3 orc generals beside him had never moved far away. So, Sung Jinwoo was certain they were guards protecting the orc priest. After all, as a mage, the orc priest's own defense must be very low. Therefore, he raised his dagger and charged at the priest, preparing to kill him at close range. But then, a giant shield suddenly appeared in the air, forcibly blocking Sung Jinwoo's attack. At the same time, the orc priest kept taunting. It's useless. Wasting time here will only make your soldier count decrease. Next, Sung Jinwoo was sent flying by the shield. However, Sung Jinwoo discovered the source of the shield's magical power. It was the 3 generals beside the orc priest. With his current strength, he couldn't break through the orc priest's shield. Given the current disadvantage in soldier numbers, he could only engage in close combat with over 100 giant orcs first. At the same time, the orc priest once again cast large-scale magic at the shadow soldiers. In moments, the soldiers were completely wiped out. But this time, Sung Jinwoo didn't let them resurrect. Instead, he pulled out a magical power potion. Since this was an ordinary dungeon, Sung Jinwoo could purchase magical power potions from the shop unlimited times to replenish his magic. After recovering his magical power, Sung Jinwoo stared intently at the orc priest. Now begins the true necromancer domain. Arise. As soon as he finished speaking, all the previously dead orcs were swallowed by shadows and became Sung Jinwoo's shadow soldiers. The situation on the scene immediately reversed. Sung Jinwoo pointed at the orc priest, not just him. In the end, you'll also become my soldier. After hearing this, the orc priest was stunned for a moment. His memories began to become chaotic, and the system's voice appeared. Could he be the monarch? Then the priest frantically questioned the system in his mind. Then why are we here? Why is there only one command to kill humans in my mind since I woke up? However, the answer he got was, there's no reason. Just follow orders. Subsequently, the orc priest uncontrollably ordered the generals beside him, go kill all the humans present. But just as the orc generals were about to kill the raid team members, King Iron, White Bear, and Igris blocked them and fought them. Since they were already at a rank hunter level, now with the added boost of Monarch's domain, they easily slaughtered the orc generals on the spot. Seeing the scene, Sung Jinwoo looked contemptuously at the orc priest. My general seemed to be superior. After seeing the priest at a disadvantage, the raid team members also joined the battle, fighting alongside Sung Jinwoo. At this time, the orc priest under the system's control was mentally on the verge of collapse. He released curse magic that covered the entire field. The raid team members once again lost their combat ability. At the same time, 4 or 5 curse skills were hurled at Sung Jinwoo, but facing the attacks, Sung Jinwoo had no intention of dodging. After being hit by the curse skills, he remained completely unharmed. Seeing this scene, the orc priest was shocked. You can actually dispel my curses. Sung Jinwoo patted his clothes. Archmage's blessing automatic dispel immune to any abnormal status. Sorry, I'm magic immune. After saying this, he handed the Casca's Venom Fong to his magic soldier, having him condense a fireball spell to destroy the orc priest's protective shield. Sure enough, without the generals providing energy, the shield became as fragile as paper and was easily shattered. The orc priest showed complete disbelief. He decided to die together with Sung Jinwoo. Everything happening in the palace at this moment was witnessed by Cha Haein, who had just arrived. She was completely stunned and unable to move. The summoned beast army before her eyes completely refreshed her understanding of hunters. She only snapped back to reality when she saw the wounded. She quickly ran to their side, asking what had happened here. But at that moment, the orc priest's roar suddenly interrupted their conversation. He had actually applied all curse magic to himself. His body instantly grew dozens of times larger. Seeing the scene, Cha Haein and ordered the team members to evacuate quickly. But the berserk orc priest showed no intention of sparing anyone and began attacking all surrounding creatures indiscriminately. Looking at the current orc priest, Sung Jinwoo couldn't help but show a bitter smile. Every time I see giants, it brings back bad memories. Under the orc priest's constant trampling, the shadow soldiers died rapidly, and Sung Jinwoo's magical power was quickly depleted. Then the orc priest began condensing fire elements and blasted directly towards Sung Jinwoo. But as the explosion's aftermath dissipated, there was no sign of Sung Jinwoo in the sea of fire. Just as the orc priest was searching for Sung Jinwoo's location, he suddenly appeared right in front of the orc priest, summoned his dagger, and stabbed fiercely at his eye. Getting too big only makes you easier to attack. How could a magic class without guard soldiers possibly withstand an assassin class's surprise attack? Sung Jinwoo continued attacking various parts of the orc priest's body with his dagger. At this time, Section Chief Wu also arrived at the scene with his people. It turned out that while investigating Sung Jinwoo was reasons for working as a miner, he suddenly felt a terrifying magical power fluctuation at the portal. After investigating the dungeon's magical power, it showed that the magical power here had reached the strongest A-rank dungeon standard. So, he brought people for support. The shadow orcs before his eyes were shocking to witness. He quickly asked Cha Haein and what those things were. She calmly replied, "Those are all summoned beasts of that man." Section Chief Wu looked toward the battlefield after hearing this. The man you're referring to? Are you talking about Hunter Se Jinwoo? We sense extremely strong magical power fluctuations from outside and came in to help, but it seems unnecessary. I never expected we'd get to see Hunter Sung Jinwoo single-handedly raiding a dungeon. No matter how you look at it, he's a top-tier combat hunter. Yet, he can use summoning magic. Could he be the legendary all-around hunter? After hearing Section Chief Wu's words, Cha Haein was shocked. She never expected that not only President Cho Jong-in knew about him, but even the Inspection Department Section Chief knew about him. So she immediately asked Section Chief Wu what kind of person Sung Jinwoo really was. However, Section Chief Wu because he had too little intelligence on Sung Jinwoo. Meanwhile, the orc priest who had been continuously attacked by Sung Jinwoo had completely lost the ability to resist. Sung Jinwoo stared intently at him lying on the ground. For a mage, the moment you lose your guard soldiers, you have no chance of winning. Before he finished speaking, the 3 generals who had guarded the orc priest appeared as shadow soldiers behind Sung Jinwoo. Under Sung Jinwoo's command, they raised their great swords together and stabbed toward the orc priest. The next second, information about the dungeon boss being eliminated appeared in Sung Jinwoo's mind, and loot also dropped. But since this was the Hunter Association's dungeon, taking the rewards didn't seem quite right, so he gave up the items and walked toward the boss's corpse. Arise. As his words fell, countless shadows enveloped the orc priest's body. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, the orc priest was resurrected before them all, becoming much quieter after turning into a shadow. Originally, his soldiers only had 3 levels: normal, elite, and knight. After the orc priest joined, there was actually an additional general level worthy of being an A-rank dungeon boss. Your previous name was too hard to remember, so I'll just give you a random one. Since your fangs are quite sharp, you'll be called Fong from now on. Having gained the giant orc's combat power, Sung Jinwoo's gains from this dungeon were quite substantial. Then, he extracted the shadows of over 100 giant orcs before everyone's eyes. It wasn't until Section Chief Wu called his name that Sung Jinwoo realized there were other people in the dungeon. Oh no. Oh no. I was so focused on fighting monsters that I didn't notice Section Chief Wu and Cha Haein had both come here. Just as Sung Jinwoo was thinking about how to escape, Section Chief Wu walked up to him, stating that Sung Jinwoo's identity was the inspection department's highest classified secret that must never be leaked, and told everyone not to reveal anything they had seen today. The raid team captain also led his team members to Sung Jinwoo to thank him for saving their lives. After Sung Jinwoo returned the wills to everyone, he left together with the inspection department personnel. Cha Haein was just about to stop Sung Jinwoo to ask something, when she was interrupted by Little Black nearby, Vice President. Why are you holding a pickaxe? How strange. After hearing this, Cha Haein's face immediately turned red. Would he also think I'm strange? This comment left Little Black puzzled. Vice President, who is the he you're referring to? After hearing this, Cha Haein immediately realized she had misspoken and lowered her head with a blushing face. After raiding the A-rank dungeon, Sung Jinwoo's first stop was to see Yu Jinho. Yu Jinho's purpose in finding Sung Jinwoo this time was to invite him to join his guild, mentioning that the Yujin Guild was backed by Korea's largest conglomerate. But Sung Jinwoo declined this proposal because President Gao Gunhai had previously told him that with his S-rank status, joining any faction would disrupt the hard-won balance between guilds and cause social unrest. So, he decided to create a guild that belonged to him alone, since he alone was equivalent to an entire army. Meanwhile, at the Hunters Guild, Cho Jong-in was shocked to learn that Sung Jinwoo had been doing odd jobs in his team. The squad leader also explained to him that without Sung Jinwoo's intervention, their entire squad would have died in the dungeon. Shijong never expected that after the White Tiger Guild, their Hunters Guild had also benefited from Sung Jinwoo. He could summon large numbers of summoned beasts, move with the agility of an assassin-class hunter, and even resurrect dead magical beasts for his own use. These incredible abilities were beyond Cho Jong-in's comprehension. So he asked the squad leader between Sung Jinwoo and me who is stronger. After a moment's hesitation, the squad leader explained, team battles require cooperation between members divided into attack, defense, and support categories. All 3 are indispensable, and they must complement each other's weaknesses to successfully raid dungeons. But Sung Jinwoo doesn't need that. He alone can easily crush dungeons. After hearing this assessment, Cho Jong-un showed complete shock. Although he was called humanity's ultimate weapon, he couldn't single-handedly resist magical beast sieges either. He had to rely on his team members' support. At that moment, he made up his mind. He must recruit such talent as Sung Jinwoo to join his guild. Soon, it was time for Sung Jinwoo's reevaluation. Baek Yunho and Cho Jong-in arrived early at the Hunter Association. But when they arrived, they found the place packed with reporters. Seeing the 2 of them, the reporters immediately swarmed over, asking if they had come to the association to compete for Lee Min-sung. It turned out Lee Min-sung was a popular entertainment star, and today happened to be his Hunter evaluation day. He had received an A-rank rating 2 years ago and had already been pre-selected by the Fiend Guild. To gain publicity, he had specifically held a press conference today. Baek Yunho and Cho Jong-in, who were being pestered, immediately stated they weren't here for Lee Min-sung, but had other important matters. Only after hearing this explanation did the reporters leave disappointedly. While waiting for Sung Jinwoo, Baek Yunho glanced at Cho Jong-un. I heard about it. Your Hunters Guild almost had a major incident yesterday too. Facing Baek Yunho's sarcasm, Cho Jong-un didn't deny it. That's right, though it's better than the White Tiger Guild that lost an A-rank rookie. Having his wound reopened, Baek Yunho immediately got angry. He directly declared war on Cho Jong-in, saying he was determined to bring Sung Jinwoo back to his guild to strengthen their forces. Cho Jong-in wasn't backing down either. Just as the 2 were about to fight, a familiar voice interrupted them. It was Lim Tae, president of the Fiend Guild. He looked smugly at the 2. Are you 2 presidents fighting over Lee Min-sung? As soon as he said this, Both men angrily shouted at him. Are you kidding? We have no interest in trash like Lai Min-sung. The two completely shut down Lim Tae. At this time, Lai Min-sung, who didn't know the truth, smiled narcissistically. I never expected the presidents of the country's top guilds to argue so intensely over me. Then he stormed toward the crowd to accept interviews from reporters. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo also arrived at the association entrance. Seeing so many reporters gathered here, he thought his identity had been exposed early, but no one recognized him. So, he pushed through the crowd toward the association, but was unexpectedly stopped by Lai Min-sung's bodyguard, who told him the area was currently off limits. Lee Min-sung also thought Sung Jinwoo was there to cause trouble, so he had the bodyguard quickly drive him away. Just then, a voice from behind stopped them. It was President Gunhai who said, "This area is off limits. He's my invited guest." Then, ignoring Lee Min-sung's expression, he personally escorted Sung Jinwoo inside. Having lost face, Lee Min-sung was immediately furious. To ease the embarrassment, he prepared to enter the association for evaluation. However, Section Chief Wu suddenly arrived with his people to block his path. Another awakener is currently undergoing re-evaluation. No one may enter before 11 o'clock. After hearing this, Lee Min-sung was livid and immediately incited the reporters to cause trouble. Why could that person go in? Could he possibly be more capable than me? However, Section Chief Wu's single glance and the aura he released scared Lee Min-sung speechless. After Sung Jinwoo entered the association, he immediately saw Baek Yun-ho and Cho Jong-in. The president told Sung Jinwoo that the two had been waiting for him for over an hour. It's been 2 years since Korea had an S-rank hunter appear. Plus, the Hunter Guild has witnessed his strength, so they must be eager to recruit him. Then, several people walked into the testing hall together. First, they needed to confirm Sung Jinwoo's abilities and classify his profession. After hearing this, Sung Jinwoo casually summoned a shadow soldier. Seeing the scene, the test official was immediately shocked. According to the test official, summoners were extremely rare professions. However, at this moment, President Gunhai smiled at Sung Jinwoo. This isn't your full strength, is it? Sung Jinwoo was also helpless. Too many witnesses in the dungeon last time. Looks like I can't hide my strength this time. Immediately, he summoned his shadow army before everyone. I can summon over 100 more like these. The 3 S-rank hunters present were all stunned by the scene. Baek Yun-ho looked at Sung Jinwoo in disbelief. He could clearly feel that the magical power within Sung Jinwoo was completely different from when they met at the Red Portal last time. After Sung Jinwoo received his S-rank hunter certificate, Baek Yun-ho immediately called out to Sung Jinwoo, wanting to chat with him. But Sung Jinwoo used having other matters as an excuse and prepared to leave. Baek Yun-ho didn't force him to stay, but advised him not to leave at this time. Sung Jinwoo couldn't understand what Baek Yun-ho meant and directly pushed open the door and walked out. He never expected that countless camera flashes would immediately shine on his face, and Sung Jinwoo's image appeared on national television broadcasts. It turned out that the moment his evaluation was completed, his information was published on the Hunter Association's official website. All major media received the news and abandoned their original interview target, Lai Min-sung, crowding around the Hunter Association's entrance. In an instant, the whole world knew Sung Jinwoo's identity. At this moment, Hwang Dong-soo, who was recovering from injuries in the US, also learned that Sung Jinwoo was still alive. He was determined to return to Korea to kill Sung Jinwoo once his injuries healed. At the Hunter Association entrance, reporters were competing to interview Sung Jinwoo. Baek Yun-ho also patted his shoulder, saying he could help him escape the reporters' harassment. However, the next second, Sung Jinwoo's figure vanished from the spot. When he reappeared, he was already far from the crowd. Baek Yun-ho was completely stunned. He couldn't even see that movement clearly. At the same time, he discovered Sung Jinwoo's secret. After using his skill, he could detect others' internal magical power levels. When he had checked Sung Jinwoo's magical power at the Red Portal, he might have already completed his second awakening. But now Sung Jinwoo's internal magical power level had become even stronger than before. Soon he realized that Sung Jinwoo might not be a second awakening hunter, but a hunter who could continuously grow. To quickly create the elixir of life to awaken his mother, who had been sleeping for years, Sung Jinwoo had to quickly raid the demon castle. Therefore, he needed to buy some equipment that could resist fire damage. But he didn't have money on hand. Currently, the best option was to sell Kasaka's Venom Fong. After hearing Sung Jinwoo's request, the manager immediately took him to the warehouse. An entire wall was filled with fire attribute defensive items. The manager asked if Sung Jinwoo saw anything he liked, but he was curious about the display case. Can such thin glass really protect these highly equipment? There don't seem to be any other security devices here either. After hearing this, the manager immediately explained that the glass was reinforced with magical power, and even an A-rank hunter's full force attack couldn't break it. If you don't believe me, you can try. I promise you, if you can shatter the glass, I'll give you the equipment inside. Upon hearing such a good deal, Sung Jinwoo immediately got excited and instantly powered up his magic, wanting to smash the protective glass with one punch for a zero-cost shopping spree. Seeing this scene, the manager immediately stopped Sung Jinwoo. Wait, I was just speaking casually. If you really break it, the Hunter Guild elites will be here immediately. It turned out the auction house had signed a protection agreement with the Hunter Guild to ease the awkwardness. Sung Jinwoo immediately turned and walked toward the weapon section nearby. He wanted to choose a handy weapon, but just as Sung Jinwoo left, the manager discovered a crack in the protective glass. He immediately broke out in cold sweat, looking at Sung Jinwoo's retreating figure. He didn't even touch the glass. What kind of person is he? Meanwhile, Sung Jinwoo casually picked up a dagger and asked about the price. He never expected it to be worth 180,000. After hearing this, Sung Jinwoo felt emotional. This attribute wasn't even as good as the night killer he had bought from the system shop. Yet it could sell for so much. Then he handed his night killer to the staff for an appraisal. After just touching it, they said this dagger was worth at least 600,000. Sung Jinwoo was shocked. An item that only cost 2.8 million points in the shop was worth 600,000 in reality. Then he remembered some equipment he had previously obtained from Yu Jinho. Selling all of it should be enough to buy defensive equipment, so he didn't need to sell Kasaka's Venom Fong. After purchasing the equipment, Sung Jinwoo returned home only to find the downstairs area packed with reporters. His sister's normal life had also been disrupted by them. Sung Jinwoo realized that someone might approach his sister while he was away. So while his sister was sleeping, Sung Jinwoo entered her room and summoned the previously extracted Fong guards. Any one of them was strong enough to crush an A-rank hunter. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo looked curiously at the guards behind him. Doesn't Fong have 4 guards? Why are only 3 of you here? Through their gestures, he remembered that one guard had been blasted into the ceiling earlier, and he had forgotten to turn him into a soldier. Then Sung Jinwoo left one guard behind to protect his sister's safety. After speaking, the guard turned into a black shadow and merged into his sister's shadow. Right after that, Sung Jinwoo went to the rooftop of the apartment complex. He summoned his shadow soldiers and stationed them as the security team for this building. He had to ensure his sister's absolute safety. Early the next morning, Yu Jinho came knocking on Sung Jinwoo's door. It turned out he had given up inheriting his family's guild and chose to join Sung Jinwoo's guild as vice president instead. Sung Jinwoo assigned him the task of finding a guild office while he himself entered the Demon Castle once again. The Demon Castle's difficulty increased dramatically starting from the 75th floor. However, Sung Jinwoo had made thorough preparations this time. A robe of winds that could block heat waves and an unnamed ring imbued with water attribute magic. With everything ready, he had absolute confidence in reaching the top floor. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo also received the Demon Castle's second quest. Eliminate the Demon King on the top floor. Reward, 1 runestone, 30 attribute points, and 1 random reward. Breaking the runestone would grant him the Shadow Exchange skill, giving him the ability to swap positions with his shadows at any time. Sung Jinwoo teleported directly to the 76th floor. Unexpectedly, as soon as he set foot there, countless demons surrounded him. Sung Jinwoo remained completely calm and immediately summoned Fong to fight them. He also gave Fong the Greed Spider. He wanted to see just how strong Fong would be with double combat power. Fong's magical power continuously gathered in his hands. Then he fired a massive flame beam toward the demon army. In an instant, more than half of the city was engulfed in flames. Afterwards, Sung Jinwoo's experience points kept rising continuously. Sung Jinwoo was very satisfied after witnessing Fang's combat power. This monster clearing efficiency was simply incredible with just a few flame spells. His level jumped from 75 to 81. Just like that, everywhere Sung Jinwoo's Shadow Legion passed was reduced to rubble. However, Sung Jinwoo soon realized that moving the entire army together was extremely inefficient. Therefore, he decided to divide his soldiers into groups to let them kill whatever they encountered until floor permits appeared, then notify him. His urgent priority now was to reach the top floor as quickly as possible. Just moments after the team disbanded, Sung Jinwoo's experience began increasing rapidly while he only needed to stay in place and continuously replenish his mana. In just 3 days, he had climbed to the 80th floor. During this period, not only did his level increase, but all his soldiers' levels also improved significantly. However, for the next 2 days, Sung Jinwoo remained stuck on the 80th floor. He didn't know why the floor permit hadn't appeared yet. Could there be even more powerful enemies hiding in the shadows? Just then, Sung Jinwoo suddenly sensed his mana rapidly disappearing as his shadows were being continuously destroyed. He looked toward where the shadows were vanishing. It was King Iron's squad. He hadn't expected there to be highly demons capable of defeating King Iron among the advanced demons. Left with no choice, he had to recall all of Iron's squad shadows first. Soon after, both the Orc squad and Igris's squad were successively defeated. Sung Jinwoo quickly noticed something suspicious because Fong's squad was stationed along Igris' squad's route. Yet, those demons bypassed Fong's squad and attacked the Orc squad instead. Could these guys be avoiding Fong because they couldn't defeat him, deliberately picking fights they could win? That would mean the enemy consisted of intelligent demons capable of seeing through opponents' weaknesses. Since they deliberately attacked the Orc squad, their next target would be the White Bear squad. Therefore, Sung Jinwoo positioned himself to ambush them in advance. Sure enough, before long, a squad led by a demon noble appeared in the distance. The White Bears had no chance of fighting back against them and were quickly eliminated. Seeing this, Sung Jinwoo deactivated his stealth and appeared before the Demon Knight. Upon seeing Sung Jinwoo, the Demon Knight raised his spear and charged toward him. Facing the attack, Sung Jinwoo dodged with a simple sidestep and kicked the Demon Knight in the head. The Demon Knight struck by this attack immediately became Sung Jinwoo's upgrade experience. He then smoothly continued, eliminating the remaining 2 Demon Knights as well. The sole surviving demon noble began trembling uncontrollably after witnessing Sung Jinwoo's terrifying power. Seeing this scene, Sung Jinwoo's lips curved into an evil smile. I've always been curious. Can demons feel fear? Now I finally know. After saying this, he launched an attack toward the demon noble, cutting his long sword in half with one strike, then reached out and firmly grasped his throat. Just as Sung Jinwoo was about to kill him, something unexpected happened. The demon noble actually spoke in human language, continuously begging Sung Jinwoo for mercy. Sung Jinwoo curiously removed his mask and to his surprise, underneath was a woman. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo glared angrily at the female demon. After beating my soldiers like that, you think I'll spare you? The female demon quickly explained, we have commands imprinted in our minds to guard this place, so we can't ignore those who recklessly hunt demons. After hearing the explanation, Sung Jinwoo glanced at her, but I killed all the others. Leaving only you doesn't seem right. The female demon replied that a knight's duty is to protect her safety, and as long as she was fine, the knights would be happy even if they died. Sung Jinwoo turned away speechlessly after hearing this. Truly a selfish demon. But since she looked human, he really couldn't bring himself to strike. However, at that moment, the female demon standing behind Sung Jinwoo suddenly quietly drew a short sword and stabbed directly at Sung Jinwoo. But this strike was blocked by a shadow shield beside him. It was Feng who had sensed the female demon's abnormal behavior and automatically activated his protective shield. Sung Jinwoo, who had been ambushed, stared coldly at the female demon. What are you trying to do? Seeing this, the female demon immediately cowed out and apologized. As long as you spare my life, I'll pay any price. Sung Jinwoo immediately ordered Fong to use reverse gravity on the female demon, then asked her where the floor permit was. The female demon immediately confessed that the floor permit was protected by her family, and she also knew where the permits for the upper floors were. As long as he could guarantee her and her family's safety, she would tell Sung Jinwoo. This condition was indeed tempting, but the problem was, can I still trust you? After saying this, he slowly walked to the female demon, activated his killing intent skill, and stared at her intensely, asking again, can I trust you? The terrifying killing intent emanating from Sung Jinwoo nearly scared the female demon unconscious. She quickly insisted that everything she said was true. Hearing this response, Sung Jinwoo decided to trust her once more, promising to let her leave once he obtained the permit. But what exactly are you people? After hearing this, the female demon quickly introduced herself as Essel, the eldest daughter of the Radairu family. But Sung Jinwoo indicated that wasn't what he was asking about. Then directly asked Essel, can you also hear voices in your head telling you to kill humans? Essel paused after hearing this and told Sung Jinwoo that while she couldn't hear such voices, she could hear others. Protect the place where you are. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo understood that demons existed for different purposes than magic beasts. They simply aimed to guard their territories. So he continued questioning Ale, when did you start hearing this voice? Ale told Sung Jinwoo was after they awakened here. Sung Jinwoo was shocked upon hearing this. Awakened here? Does that mean you all lived somewhere else before? This might be a clue that could lead to the system's main body. He then continued pressing, where did you live before awakening? And what were you doing? Essel told Sung Jinwoo they were preparing for war in the demon realm, and their opponent was extremely powerful, stronger than all demons combined. But just as Essel was about to reveal the enemy's identity, her words suddenly changed to content exceeds permitted range. Conversation terminated. She then collapsed unconscious. When Sung Jinwoo had questioned the Ice Layer King before, the system had also forcibly interrupted the conversation. This meant that powerful enemy's identity was closely related to the system. A seal didn't regain consciousness until 2.5 hours later. Sung Jinwoo looked at her, then pointed to the demon corpses nearby. Seems like you demons don't get along well with each other either. These guys tried to attack you while you were unconscious. After learning that Sung Jinwoo had been protecting her while she slept, Il quickly expressed her gratitude to Sung Jinwoo. She told Sung Jinwoo that non-intelligent demons attack all living creatures. She then led him back to her family to meet the family head. However, when the family head saw Sung Jinwoo, his face immediately showed terror because he could see the army within Sung Jinwoo's shadows. He immediately ordered his demon knights to surround Sung Jinwoo. But Sung Jinwoo calmly told the family head that once he obtained the permit, he would quietly leave. The family head remained extremely nervous after hearing this. He knew Sung Jinwoo was the man who had killed the fire god, and his own strength was at best equal to the fire god's. So facing Sung Jinwoo meant certain death. So he asked Sung Jinwoo if this was really his only demand. Only then did Sung Jinwoo remember he also needed to borrow Esil's help to find the upper floor permits. He would need her assistance. Finally, after receiving Sung Jinwoo's promise to protect his daughter's safety, the family head gave him the permit. Sung Jinwoo didn't want to waste a moment, immediately taking Esil to the 81st floor. At this point, Esil pulled a bottle of wine from her backpack and handed it to Sung Jinwoo. This is wine that the head of the Garshur family likes. Having this will help with negotiations. After hearing this, Sung Jinwoo asked back, don't they have a good relationship with the Garshur family? Esil immediately denied this, explaining that Demon Realm nobles often clash over rankings, but issues can be resolved through negotiation. After hearing this response, Sung Jinwoo grinned. That's perfect. Then wait here. I'll finish negotiations with them very quickly. Within just a few minutes, the Garshur family's castle was accompanied by flames and thunderous roars. After eliminating this family, Sung Jinwoo's level reached 87 and Igris also reached the level where he could be promoted. With Sung Jinwoo's permission, Igris successfully promoted from knight to general. Based on the aura emanating from him, he had gained S rank power. Just like this, Sung Jinwoo used his friendly negotiation methods to smoothly reach the 90th floor. Esil now told Sung Jinwoo that from the 90th floor onward, high-ranking nobles were in charge. They were much stronger than upper nobles, and if he negotiated well with them, they might hand over the permits like her family did. Sung Jinwoo sighed helplessly after hearing this. If I were weaker than you, would you still be willing to talk with me? Didn't you say demon families often fight each other for rankings? This time, I'll make your Rodairu family rank first. Esil asked Sung Jinwoo in confusion why he would spare only their family. Sung Jinwoo grinned. Because I think you're a pretty decent person. Upon hearing this, Esil's face immediately turned red, thinking Sung Jinwoo had taken a liking to her. Meanwhile, he was having self-doubt. Do I really seem to get along well with these simple-minded folks? As Esil had said, the monsters after the 90th floor were much more powerful and numerous than those on lower floors. Even though he had leveled up, his mana was fluctuating dramatically, indicating his shadow soldiers were being continuously destroyed and reborn. Sung Jinwoo had to personally engage in combat with the demons. This time it took him a full 15 days to arduously reach the 100th floor of the demon tower. As soon as he stepped inside, a giant dragon quickly flew toward him, landing right in front of him. Sung Jinwoo looked up and clearly saw a figure standing on the dragon's back, emanating terrifying killing intent. That made even Sung Jinwoo's heart feel a trace of fear. Obviously, this was the demon lord of this place, Ban. And troublesome as it was, the demon king could fly. However, Sung Jinwoo immediately noticed that the flying dragon mount didn't belong to the demon race. Since it wasn't a demon, he might be able to extract its shadow for his own use. While Sung Jinwoo was lost in thought, the Demon King had already drawn his sword, pointing it at Sung Jinwoo and activating his skill. Gates of Hell. In an instant, countless purple portals appeared in the void with demon soldiers continuously emerging from them. In just one breath, Sung Jinwoo was surrounded by the demon army. Asil was completely terrified by the sight, frantically asking Sung Jinwoo what they should do now because these 1,000+ soldiers were all at least a rank. In the blink of an eye, those demon soldiers charged towards Sung Jinwoo, but Sung Jinwoo showed no signs of panic. Just as the demon soldiers were about to reach Sung Jinwoo, he immediately activated his ruler's domain, covering the demon soldiers within it. Then roared, "Come forth, my soldiers." The next second, soldiers suddenly emerged from the shadows, their weapons piercing through those unprepared demon soldiers. However, this sneak attack had no effect on the demon generals who continued rushing towards Sung Jinwoo at high speed. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo's generals also entered the battle. The White Bear became a meat shield, using his body to tank the demon general's attacks, while King Iron seized the opportunity to swing his axe and sever a demon general's legs. Igris, who had upgraded to S rank, could single-handedly hold off multiple demon generals, and Fong, enhanced by the greedy spider, transformed into a magical artillery platform, continuously casting wide-range flame magic from the rear, bombarding the demon army at will. At this moment, Essel, who was in the middle of the battlefield, was completely stunned. Although she had watched Sung Jinwoo fight his way here, she had never seen such an intense battle. Her heart fell into conflict. Demon King Ban was the ruler of the demon castle, while Sung Jinwoo was an invader, someone she should eliminate. For a moment, she didn't know which side to take. Just then, Demon King Baron's mouth suddenly began gathering lightning with all the thunder elements in the demon castle converging toward him. He then controlled the lightning to continuously strike down at the shadow army below. Seeing this, Sung Jinwoo immediately rushed toward Essel, using his immunity to abnormal status effects to help her block the attack. After taking a lightning strike, Sung Jinwoo clearly sensed that this lightning contains special effect wide area magic. If he didn't block this magic, his shadow soldiers would be torn apart like paper and his mana would be completely drained. He then used nearby buildings as stepping stones to leap toward the Demon King in the air. He had to deal with the flying dragon first. However, his attack was intercepted by the Demon King's giant sword. Before Sung Jinwoo could react, the Demon King forcefully swung his sword again towards Sung Jinwoo. Struck by this blow, Sung Jinwoo's body fell toward the ground like a meteor, only stopping after smashing a crater 2.5 m deep in the ground. As Sung Jinwoo tried to get up, the Demon King in the air gathered lightning power once more, then fired a 10 m wide shockwave towards Sung Jinwoo. At this critical moment, Sung Jinwoo used all his strength to barely dodge this strike. His back was already soaked with cold sweat. If he had been hit by that attack, he would probably be heading for otherworld reincarnation. Just then, a flame beam suddenly shot from behind Sung Jinwoo, directly colliding with the lightning shockwave. It was Fong who, seeing Sung Jinwoo in danger, immediately activated Song of Flames to counterattack. Song of Flames, enhanced by the greedy spider, successfully deflected the lightning shockwave's trajectory and even split off a flame beam that shot toward the flying dragon beneath the Demon King. The dragon struck by the flames immediately fell from the sky. Even Sung Jinwoo hadn't expected Fong to be capable of all this. It seemed giving the greedy spider to Fong was the right choice. At this moment, the Demon King, having lost his flight ability, also landed on the ground. Sung Jinwoo raised his short sword and stood before him. "You're finally down. I didn't want to keep looking up at you either." After hearing this, the Demon King immediately unleashed all his mana, raising his long sword and walking towards Sung Jinwoo. Right away, he spat out a lightning bolt toward him. Seeing this, Fong immediately used his protective shield to block in front of Sung Jinwoo. However, the scattered lightning still tore apart many of Sung Jinwoo's shadow soldiers. In an instant, his mana value dropped sharply, and there was no time to replenish it during battle. If highly soldiers were destroyed, mana consumption would increase even more. But at this moment, he couldn't avoid seeking their help. Therefore, he had to end the battle before his mana ran out. He immediately summoned King Iron to have him engage the Demon King head-on. Although he wasn't the Demon King's match, he could delay the opponent through continuous revival. Igris took advantage of his distracted attention to strike from behind. But unexpectedly, this sword was caught barehanded by the Demon King. Then he spat lightning toward Igris. At that moment, Sung Jinwoo suddenly appeared behind Igris, releasing his fatal strike skill toward the Demon King. What he hadn't expected was that the Demon King casually blocked his vital point with his giant sword and grabbed Sung Jinwoo's head with one claw. At this time, the revived King Iron and Igris another coordinated attack on the Demon King. The moment attacks from 3 directions landed simultaneously, the Demon King, unable to dodge, had his wrist pierced. Sung Jinwoo also took the opportunity to stab his short sword into the Demon King's arm that was gripping him. In pain, the Demon King had to release Sung Jinwoo, but he was also completely enraged by Sung Jinwoo. Suddenly, a violent lightning power erupted from within his body, forming a lightning domain around him. Sung Jinwoo could only instinctively guard, but was still knocked back dozens of meters by the explosive energy. At this moment, the Demon King reached out and grasped 2 lightning bolts, transforming them into 2 sinister battle swords. Seeing this, Sung Jinwoo also took a combat stance, charging fiercely toward the Demon King. In an instant, the 2 clashed violently together. Sung Jinwoo continuously released his fatal strike skill, but the Demon King could perfectly block them all. While the 2 were locked in blade combat, the Demon King opened his mouth again, firing a lightning bolt towards Sung Jinwoo. At such close range, he couldn't dodge at all, and his short sword was directly knocked away. Seeing this, the Demon King's face showed an evil smile. Then he swung his short sword towards Sung Jinwoo. Unable to dodge, Sung Jinwoo could only firmly grasp the Demon King's wrist. But this also completely restricted his movement. Sure enough, the next second, the Demon King, with unlimited mana, opened his mouth and began gathering lightning again. Just as he was about to fire, he was suddenly interrupted by an attack from the side. It was Essel who had thrown Sung Jinwoo's short sword back to him. The Demon King angrily turned toward Essel, and Sung Jinwoo seized this brief opportunity, using all his strength to activate Ruler's Hand. The rapidly approaching short sword instantly severed the Demon King's arm. When the Demon King realized what happened, Sung Jinwoo's full power uppercut had already struck his head. With this blow, the Demon King was decapitated. Sung Jinwoo also received notification at this moment that the Demon King had been eliminated and the quest was completed. Exhausted, Sung Jinwoo immediately collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, Essel anxiously ran over to help the fallen Sung Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo grinned at her. Go tell your father that your family now ranks first. After defeating the Demon King, Sung Jinwoo's level reached 97, and he obtained many rare rewards. The Demon Monarch set was also complete at this moment. However, compared to the set items, the purified Demon King's blood was the main prize. Sung Jinwoo immediately began crafting the Elixir of Life. The materials he had could only make 6 bottles. After completion, the Demon King's blood was reduced. The World Tree fragment became smaller, and the Echo Forest spring water was completely used up. Looking at the elixir in his hands, he immediately wanted to return to the hospital to confirm its effects. But just then, iron dragged over the flying dragon's corpse. Only then did Sung Jinwoo remember the dragon's existence, and he extracted its shadow, making it his 3rd subordinate with S-rank strength. Sung Jinwoo named him Flying Dragon Kaiser. At this time, the quest rewards were automatically distributed. A top-tier runestone for Shadow Exchange, 30 attribute points, and a Demon Hunter title. However, this title hadn't met the conditions for use yet. Sung Jinwoo immediately crushed the runestone, obtaining the Shadow Exchange skill. This skill allowed him to swap positions with any Shadow Soldier at any location with a 3-hour cooldown. It could be said to be on par with instant teleportation. After completing all quests, Sung Jinwoo bid farewell to Essel, then used the Shadow Exchange skill to leave the Demon Castle. The next second, a confused shadow appeared before Essel. While Sung Jinwoo appeared in his neighborhood, he immediately summoned Flying Dragon Kaiser and flew toward his mother's hospital. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo didn't know that during the month he was conquering the Demon Castle, hunter associations worldwide had exploded into chaos because the ant magic beasts that once terrified them had now flown across the ocean and come ashore. Sung Jinwoo used the Lord's blood to create the Elixir of Life, awakening his mother, who had been sleeping for 4 years. Seeing his mother awaken, Sung Jinwoo could no longer suppress the longing in his heart and cried like a baby. That night, he held his mother's hand like a half-grown child, speechless, but worth more than 1,000 words. The next morning, he couldn't wait to bring his sister Jinha to the hospital. When Jinha saw their mother awake, she immediately burst into tears of joy, rushing forward to embrace their mother tightly. Seeing this heartwarming scene, Sung Jinwoo instantly felt all his efforts hadn't been in vain. All the suffering he'd endured over these years seemed to be compensated in this single moment. However, having been a hunter for so long and experienced so much, he suddenly felt a sense of unease in his heart. Just then, Sung Jinwoo's phone suddenly vibrated. He discovered that his photo from last night riding the flying dragon had been captured and made headlines. At the same time, Hunter Association Chairman Gao Gunhai also called Sung Jinwoo. He invited Sung Jinwoo to come to the Hunter Association, saying there was important business to discuss. Therefore, after hanging up, Sung Jinwoo immediately went to the association. Only then did he learn from the chairman about the ant magic beasts on Jeju Island, which had actually evolved to the point where they could fly across the ocean. Even the most ordinary ant soldiers had a rank strength. After coming ashore, they directly destroyed half a city. And it wasn't until the association deployed multiple highly hunters working together that they were eliminated. To prevent such tragedies from happening again, their H country and our country's Draw Sword Guild formed an alliance, preparing to go to Jeju Island to eliminate all those ants. He had called Sung Jinwoo here today to invite him to join this raid mission. Just as Sung Jinwoo was about to respond, he suddenly froze for a moment because he had sensed a powerful mana fluctuation. After hearing this response, Chairman Gao smiled with relief. Your perception is indeed very sharp. You can sense it from such a distance. He then told Sung Jinwoo that those were S-rank hunters warming up in the gymnasium because there were less than 4 days left before going to Jeju Island. This time, besides Gotoruji, our country had brought 10 S-rank hunters. Upon hearing Gotoruji's name, Sung Jinwoo's heart jumped. That was our country's top powerhouse. Subsequently, Chairman Gao led Sung Jinwoo to the gymnasium. As soon as he entered, he saw Baek Yunho sparring with a large man. When Cho Jong saw Sung Jinwoo, he walked over to greet him. He introduced to Sung Jinwoo that the large man was Ma Dongwook, captain of the Fame Guild, and both weren't using their full strength because our country's hunters were watching from the side, and no one wanted to expose their abilities in front of outsiders. The leader was none other than Go Taruji. At this moment, Go Taruji had also noticed Sung Jinwoo's presence. The translator told him that was Sung Jinwoo, who had recently become an S-rank hunter. Go Taruji carefully observed Sung Jinwoo, clearly sensing the powerful aura belonging to an assassin type within Sung Jinwoo's body. Seems like an excellent assassin type hunter. The assistant quickly explained after hearing this. According to official reports, Sung Jinwoo is a magic type hunter. Go Taruji looked incredulous because his profession-seeing skill that awakened with him had never been wrong. Their argument soon attracted Cha Haeun's attention, and she curiously turned around to look. It was Sung Jinwoo who had arrived. No wonder she could feel the air here becoming fresher. At this moment, Go Taruji suddenly walked to the center of the gymnasium. He suggested that to increase mutual trust, he proposed that all S-rank hunters could have a match against each other. Chairman Gao immediately agreed. After all, only by fully understanding teammates' abilities could they better cooperate in conquering the S-rank Jeju Island Gate. However, to exclude magic type and support type hunters who would be difficult to determine winners for, they decided to adopt a multi-person battle format. Victory would be achieved by grabbing an opponent's wrist, touching their back, or knocking them down. Go Taruji directly accepted these rules, immediately sending out 4 S-rank hunters to form a team. H Countryside sent out a team consisting of Baek Yunho, Ma Dongwook, Cha Haeun, and Lim Tae. Sung Jinwoo watched all this. Go Taruji isn't participating. Seems he simply wants to observe H Country Hunter's abilities. As the starting gunshot sounded, Ma Dongwook's body instantly enlarged. The scarred Our Country Hunter got excited seeing this. He loved contests of strength most. The two collided together, competing with pure strength. At this time, the blonde Dark Country Hunter also found his opponent, launching a surprise attack and charging toward Lim Tae like lightning. Lim Tae immediately recognized the blonde as a speed-type profession, making close combat very disadvantageous for him. So, he took a step back to distance himself from the blonde while continuously forming mana swords in his hands to shoot at him. Meanwhile, Baek Yunho also activated his transformation, choosing the female hunter as his opponent. Unexpectedly, the one-eyed hunter's figure suddenly appeared behind him like a ghost. Just as he was about to backstab, Baek Yunho's speed suddenly increased dramatically, instantly teleporting 10 meters away. He looked at the one-eyed hunter in confusion. He had clearly felt killing intent just now. But why did he hesitate? At this moment, Baek Yunho's assessment of the one-eyed hunter was that he was either someone with excellent judgment or a coward. But looking at the one-eyed hunter's current state, combined with what the Our Country Hunters had inadvertently said earlier about some hunters in their team disliking fighting magic beasts, he suddenly understood that Go Taruji wanted to test through them whether he was prepared to face the ants. Realizing he was being used, Baek Yunho became extremely angry. Seeing Baek Yunho's fierce gaze, the one-eyed hunter was immediately scared into a cold sweat. At that moment, he charged toward the one-eyed hunter. While attacking, he continuously taunted him as a complete coward. However, the next second, a huge explosion suddenly came from behind Baek Yunho. He turned around to see that Ma Dongwook had lost the strength contest and been directly smashed into the floor. At the same time, Lim Tae was also caught by the blonde and defeated. In an instant, Baek Yunho's opponents increased from 1 to 3 because they felt that teaming up to eliminate Baek Yunho would be easier than dealing with Cha Haeun. Indeed, at this moment, Cha Haeun, who was fighting the country female hunter, was completely dominating her opponent. Cha Haeun's nickname was Dancer because her movements when eliminating magic beasts were as agile as dancing. Under her fierce offensive, the Our Country female hunter soon couldn't keep up and was eliminated when Cha Haeun touched her back. Then she prepared to quickly help Baek Yunho. But just then, the one-eyed hunter's figure suddenly appeared behind her. Just as he was about to touch Cha Haeun's back, Cha Haeun landed several punches on the one-eyed hunter's face. All the watching hunters were stunned by the scene because in that instant, Cha Haeun's fists fired like a machine gun, landing 14 punches and turning the one-eyed hunter into a pig head. At this time, the previously silent glasses-wearing man suddenly spoke. "It's over. That guy's angry." It turned out that every time the one-eyed hunter got angry, he would completely lose his reason, even attacking teammates. Therefore, no one was willing to team up with him. Left with no choice, he could only solo be rank gates. At this moment, he had completely lost control, attacking Cha Haeun in like a wild beast. His speed was so fast that Cha Haeun couldn't react at all. Just as the one-eyed hunter's attack was about to land on Cha Haein, Sung Jinwoo suddenly rushed in front of Cha Haein to block the attack for her. However, the out-of-control one-eyed hunter didn't stop there, reaching towards Sung Jinwoo again. Seeing his lack of restraint, Sung Jinwoo threw him to the ground with a back throw. Seeing the scene, Go Taruji's pupils contracted sharply. He had almost failed to catch that strike speed. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo suddenly looked behind him. Hunter Cha Haein, let's call this practice match H country's loss. Cha Haein readily agreed. Just as he finished saying this, Baek Yunho was also defeated under the opponent's siege. Just as Sung Jinwoo was about to leave, Go Taruji's translator suddenly called out to him. It turned out Go Taruji wanted to invite him for a sparring match. Upon learning this, Sung Jinwoo's expression immediately became serious. Was Go Taruji trying to test his abilities? Although he didn't know what he was planning, this was a perfect opportunity to see how much stronger he had become in the Demon Castle. So, he had the translator tell Go Taruji he could agree to the sparring match. But with one condition, he hoped he would use his full strength. These arrogant words directly angered Go Taruji. Before Sung Jinwoo even said the match could begin, Go Taruji's hand blade was already in front of Sung Jinwoo's eyes, but this strike missed completely. It turned out that at the moment the attack was about to hit him, Sung Jinwoo had activated his dodge skill to avoid it. But he still couldn't help but admire that this guy was obviously much stronger than other S-rank hunters. Go Taruji looked at his palm in disbelief. How ridiculous. With moves like that, he's still considered a magic-type hunter. Agile movements, silent actions. This was the ability of a top-level assassin. After saying this, he gathered power again, preparing to continue testing Sung Jinwoo until he revealed all his cards. In an instant, he charged towards Sung Jinwoo like lightning. But no matter how fast his attacks were, Sung Jinwoo could precisely dodge them, even showing an enigmatic smile on his face. Seeing this smile, Go Taruji thought Sung Jinwoo was looking down on his abilities. He realized that if he didn't use full strength, he couldn't hit Sung Jinwoo. Therefore, he changed his mind. He suddenly struck out with full force. He wanted to kill Sung Jinwoo, right? The punch directly slashed across Sung Jinwoo's cheek. And at the same time, a system pop-up appeared with a warning that hostile individuals had appeared around him. With a thunderous impact, Go Taruji's strike finally didn't miss its mark. But when he saw the scene before him, his pupils suddenly shook violently because his full-powered attack had actually been caught head-on by Sung Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo couldn't help but sigh. If he had been even a second slower, he might have lost an eye. Go Taruji stared at Sung Jinwoo in disbelief. He clearly could have won the match by grabbing his wrist, but had deliberately only grabbed his palm. He was convinced that Sung Jinwoo was intentionally toying with him. Then Sung Jinwoo glanced at Go Taruji, although he couldn't understand what he was saying. If he had grabbed his wrist, the game would have been over and he hadn't even launched his own attack yet. In an instant, both men unleashed all the mana within their bodies and launched attacks at each other with their most powerful force. Seeing the scene, both Cha Haein and Baek Yunho were immediately alarmed. They rushed forward to restrain Sung Jinwoo, while Go Taruji was also blocked by our country's hunters, because judging from the overwhelming power radiating from their strikes, a collision would definitely cause the gymnasium to explode and result in casualties. Cha Haein told Sung Jinwoo that this person would be leading our country's team into battle in a few days, and if they accidentally injured him, no one could bear that responsibility. Baek Yunho immediately had the translator tell Go Taruji that everyone was getting too excited and the sparring match should end here. Then he apologetically apologized to Sung Jinwoo, who calmly replied that it was fine. If he had continued fighting with Go Taruji at that moment, the system might have issued another emergency quest, and one of them would have definitely died. To ease the awkwardness, Ma Dongwook quickly stepped forward to change the subject. To fight against Gotu, who ranked second in Asia and only end up with a small wound on his face. Truly remarkable. Then he mentioned that their Fame Guild was in urgent need of combat-type hunters, asking if Sung Jinwoo had any interest in joining them. But at that moment, Cho Jong-in, who was on the second floor, directly interrupted him after hearing this. He told Ma Dongwook that Sung Jinwoo was actually a magic-type hunter. Ma Dongwook showed an expression of disbelief upon hearing this. At this point, Sung Jinwoo had completely calmed down. He quickly apologized to everyone. He had already assessed the strength of the hunters present and had even secretly hidden soldiers in their shadows without anyone noticing, not even Go Taruji. Then he told President Gao Gunhai that he would withdraw from this Jeju Island raid. First, because his mother had just awakened, he couldn't easily leave her side. Second, with over 10 S-rank hunters participating, he believed they wouldn't lack his combat power. At this moment, Go Taruji was already breaking out in cold sweat. Because at the moment when Sung Jinwoo launched his final attack, the unprecedented killing intent he emanated made him feel fear, and he even had nightmares for several consecutive days afterward. Soon, 3 days had passed. A raid team of 5,000 awakened individuals sailed toward Jeju Island on destroyers. Their main responsibility was to eliminate the ants that escaped from the island. Meanwhile, the S-rank hunters took helicopters and flew to Jeju Island first. Their mission was to kill the Ant Queen because the ants only had a 1-year lifespan. Once the Ant Queen died, Jeju Island would return to peace after 1 year. This time, Country H sent 6 S-rank hunters: Cha Haein, Ma Dongwook, Baek Yunho, Cho Jongin, Lim Tae, and Min Byungyu. Among them, Min Byungyu was Baek Yunho brother, an S-rank healing type hunter. However, he didn't like bloody places, so he had retired. At this moment, Baek Yunho looked at Min Byungyu in disbelief. He really hadn't expected him to participate in this raid. Min Byungyu grinned after hearing this, saying that without him, Baek Yunho would probably be the first to die since he would recklessly charge at magic beasts whenever he saw them. Soon, their helicopter flew to Jeju Island. While Goto Ruji's team had already landed on the island from another direction, they couldn't believe that the once prosperous Jeju city had now become a ghost town filled with magic beast remains. Those ant carcasses had been eaten by their own kind. Therefore, God Ruji judged that there was a predator nearby. He notified his team members to begin the operation as planned. In an instant, powerful magical energy erupted from various areas around Jeju Island's perimeter. This magical energy drew out the ant soldiers in droves. Seeing the ant army being lured away, the people in the helicopter opened the cabin doors. Cho Jongin immediately released large-scale flame magic, shooting toward the ant soldiers, blocking their path. However, as the smoke from the explosion cleared, those ants were completely unharmed. Seeing this, Cho Jongin couldn't help but sigh that the ants had evolved again. They had developed resistance to magic that was effective in ranked dungeons. Therefore, he had to concentrate his firepower to damage them. After testing the ants' strength, he jumped down from the helicopter. His fire magic would have an advantage when facing numerous enemies. So, he was the perfect choice to clear the path for everyone. He continuously used large-scale magic to bombard the ant army. Soon, the ant guard soldiers at the entrance were completely eliminated by Cho Jongin. Seeing this, the others jumped down from the helicopter. The Country R hunters could only buy them 1 hour of time. They had to eliminate the Ant Queen within this time frame, or they would be trampled to death by the returning ants. Meanwhile, the fleet also launched an interference satellite so that the ants couldn't receive the Ant Queen's distress signal. At this time, Country R's hunters were struggling desperately against the ant soldiers. However, as the number of ants increased, they might be completely wiped out before Country H's team could find the Ant Queen. On the other side, Country H's team had now entered the ant nest. Cho Jongin immediately released a flame net to seal the nest entrance. It could help everyone resist the newly born ants. Then, he released countless fireball spells, bombarding various tunnel entrances in the nest. Because the ant tunnels were intricate and complex, if they entered rashly, they might be sent back the same way like the fireballs. The place so deep that even the vibrations from explosions couldn't be felt was the real entrance. Cho Jongin and quickly locked onto the entrance. He led everyone deeper into the ant nest. Little did they know that the Ant Queen had already discovered the intrusion into the nest. And beside her was a giant ant egg emitting white light that was about to hatch. That was the strongest soldier the Ant Queen had bred, one that could lead the ant citizens off the island. And it would also become a nightmare for all those who landed on the island. Just now, after successfully finding the Ant Queen's nest, everyone had killed their way unobstructed to the ant incubation chamber. However, the Ant Queen was nowhere to be found in the incubation chamber. Just as Cho Jongin was about to burn all these ant eggs, a giant ant egg that had already hatched caught everyone's attention. The magical power emanating from within the egg alone was enough to terrify everyone. What kind of monster was hatching inside? At this time, Country RS hunters outside were struggling desperately against the ant soldiers. 1 second, they were chatting and laughing, but in the time it took to turn around, the head of the S-rank healer in their team had disappeared. The two men were immediately shocked. They instantly entered combat readiness. But as a strange red light flashed by, the heads of the remaining two were also devoured in an instant, blood spattering everywhere. Meanwhile, Country H's hunters in the ant nest were also attacked by the ant guards. These were the Ant Queen's personal guard, each one no less powerful than an S-rank hunter. However, magic beasts were still magic beasts. Compared to tactically flexible hunters, their fighting methods were too simplistic. Under the hunters' coordinated teamwork, these guards were nothing to worry about and were quickly slain on the spot. However, their numbers were vast. If not for rank hunter Min Byungyu continuously restoring their magical power, they would have probably died in the prolonged battle long ago. Under everyone's combined efforts, the ant guards were beaten into retreat. Their battle against the ant guards was broadcast live to the world by an A-rank hunter nearby. In an instant, the viewership reached 80%. Under the witness of global audiences, the guard unit was soon reduced to the last 2 guards. Once they dealt with them, they could kill the Ant Queen and become the 5th country to successfully clear an S-rank gate. Just like that, the hunter team soon reached the Ant Queen's side. Without the protection of guards, the Ant Queen was no match at all. Her body was continuously torn apart by the hunters. But at this moment, the Ant Queen's eyes suddenly flashed red. Then she continuously spat liquid toward everyone. Baek Yunho and Ma Dongwook bodies splashed by the liquid rapidly corroded. Seeing this, Min Byung-gyu immediately used healing magic, pulling them back from death's door. At this time, the Ant Queen also noticed the healer's presence and immediately turned to attack Min Byung-gyu. Seeing this, Ma Dongwook immediately raised his shield and rushed over to block the attack from Min Byung-gyu. Cho Jong-in took advantage of the moment when the Ant Queen was controlled and immediately released flame magic toward her. As Cho Jong-in's firepower continued to increase, the Ant Queen's movements gradually became sluggish. Based on Baek Yunho's years of experience raiding dungeons, the Ant Queen was now in a near-death state. Victory was within their grasp. But at this moment, the Ant Queen suddenly mustered all her strength to let out a shriek. The shockwave from her voice directly dispersed Cho Jong-in's magic, and everyone was also knocked back repeatedly. Baek Yunho, who possessed Beast transformation abilities, immediately sensed something unusual. This sound felt different from the dying wails of beasts. It seemed like she was summoning something. At the same time, Country R's hunter team outside also discovered an anomaly. All the ant soldiers were moving toward the ant nest. The human signal interference device had completely failed. Inside the ant nest, the Ant Queen had now been cut in half by Cha Hae-in's sword. Just as everyone thought the raid was over, Ma Dongwook received contact from outside, learning that the ants were rapidly gathering toward this location. Just as they were preparing to evacuate, Cho Jong-in's body suddenly trembled violently because his flame prison at the nest entrance had been broken through. The next second, an extremely powerful magical wave suddenly swept over everyone. Instantly, they were suppressed to the point where they couldn't even stand. Then, an ant soldier emerged from the darkness and let out an angry roar at everyone. Baek Yunho was immediately terrified because the magical power emanating from this ant was much stronger than the combined magical power of all the S-rank hunters present. As the ant approached step by step, Cha Hae-in was directly suppressed to the point of kneeling on the ground. This terrifying oppressive feeling was unbelievable. Just his footsteps alone could make people imagine horrors. He was definitely the Ant King here. The Ant King simply ignored everyone and walked toward the Ant Queen, just brushing past them. The magical airflow directly crushed half the bones in Ma Dongwook's entire body. If not for Min Byung-gyu's timely treatment, Ma Dongwook would have already become a corpse. At this time, the Ant King had reached the Ant Queen's side. After confirming that the Ant Queen was dead, he angrily opened his mouth and let out a roar at everyone, directly suppressing everyone to collapse on the ground. Among everyone, the strongest Cha Hae-in was trembling as she struggled to arise. Seeing the scene, the Ant King flashed like lightning, instantly teleporting behind her and fiercely punched toward Cha Hae-in's abdomen. Taking this hit, Cha Hae-in's body flew backward like a meteor, only stopping after smashing a 10-me crater in the rock. This punch directly shattered all of Cha Hae-in's internal organs. Seeing the scene, Ma Dongwook was about to rush over to check on Cha Hae-in's injuries, but the Ant King instantly teleported in front of him. Ma Dongwook immediately raised his shield to block, but the Ant King casually punched the shield to pieces. Seeing this, he immediately drew his spare weapon to slash at the Ant King. But the Ant King directly used his claws to block the attack and then brutally tore off his arm. Seeing Ma Dongwook fall, Baek Yunho let out an angry roar. But the next second, the Ant King flashed and tore open his chest. Nearby, Cho Jong-in had just condensed a fireball to attack, when the Ant King's ghostly figure rushed to his front and severed his arm. At this time, the only one on scene with attack capability, Lim Tae, took a sword step and rushed behind the Ant King, drawing his bow with full force to attack. He was confident that at such close distance, he definitely wouldn't miss. Just as the Ant King was about to be hit, the Ant King directly reached out his claw to catch the magic arrow, glanced at him, then crushed the arrow and kicked Lim Tae flying with a single kick. Just as the Ant King was preparing to finish off Lim Tae, Ma Dongwook suddenly appeared in front of the Ant King and punched the Ant King back with one strike. After the successful sneak attack, Ma Dongwook grinned. As long as he was there, even with a severed arm, he could completely recover. At this time, Min Byung-gyu had already activated his self-P protection skill. Although camouflage had the drawback of being unable to move, it could hide one's presence like invisibility. As long as he continued to heal the hunters, they wouldn't be easily defeated by the Ant King. Just like that, Ma Dongwook was beaten like a punching bag by the Ant King. But under Min Byung-gyu's S-rank healing support, he never took his final breath. At this time, the Ant King sensed something unusual. He glanced toward the hidden Min Byung-gyu nearby. Min Byung-gyu was immediately shocked. He hadn't expected to be discovered. The next second, he felt intense pain in his chest. Looking down, he discovered that his chest had been pierced by the Ant King's claw. Seeing the scene, Baek Yunho immediately let out a painful wail. Min Byung-gyu used his last bit of strength to tell Baek Yunho to take everyone and run. But before he could finish speaking, the Ant King devoured his head in one bite. Seeing the scene, everyone's pupils dilated in shock. Baek Yunho ignored the pain of his wounds and angrily lunged at the Ant King, but was grabbed by the throat by the Ant King. Just as the Ant King was about to crush Baek Yunho's neck, something unexpected happened. The Ant King actually spoke human words, "Run quickly, brother." Only then did everyone understand that the Ant King devoured not just life, but also the target's power and intelligence. At this time, the Ant King angrily spoke to Byunho. "You're too weak. You killed our Ant Queen. But killing you small fries still isn't enough. Who is your king?" Baek Yunho couldn't answer for a moment because their team had already been completely wiped out. Just then, the Ant King's body suddenly froze and then turned to look toward the outside. "There's a powerful guy over there." After saying this, he threw Baek Yunho on the ground and charged straight toward the outside. At this time, Baek Yunho looked terrified. Was he going after Gotoruji? But soon he tremblingly stood up. Now wasn't the time to think about this. He had to take everyone and leave before the Ant King returned. But when he saw the scene before him, he completely disappeared because the ant soldiers had all returned. Outside, Gotoruji had also discovered his teammates' corpses. He hurriedly called the guild to inform the vice president that there was a problem with the interference waves. The ants were all gathering toward the Ant Queen's direction, and he had fought against Country H's team. Without Sung Jinwoo, the survival rate was 0. The vice president was very satisfied upon hearing this news. Although they hadn't helped them successfully clear the S-rank gate, letting go Ruji's country challenged successfully. Their ultimate goal of having Country H's S-rank hunters completely wiped out had been achieved. He immediately ordered a full retreat. But just then, a black shadow rushed toward them like lightning. The moment Gotoruji sensed the anomaly, he used his long sword to block the attack. But another hunter beside him wasn't so lucky and died on the spot. Seeing this, Gotoruji told the remaining blonde to rendezvous with the others while he stayed behind to cover everyone's retreat. At this time, the Ant King stared at Gotoruji with hawk-like eyes. "Are you there, King?" Hearing this, Gotoruji's lips immediately curved into an evil smile. He raised his long sword toward the Ant King. "That's right. I am the king." After getting a positive answer, the Ant King immediately released all the magical power in his body. After feeling this magical power, Gotoruji's face immediately showed a trace of fear. He had felt the sensation once before a few days ago when he fought against Sung Jinwoo. With the sound of a long sword shattering, Gotoruji was already separated from his head. Meanwhile, everyone in the nest was also in despair under the siege of the ant army. Just as they were about to be killed by the ants, a black soldier suddenly rushed out from their shadows and blocked the fatal attack for them. At this time, Sung Jinwoo, thousands of miles away, also sensed the anomaly. He stared intently in the direction of Jeju Island. Shadow exchange skill activated. Just as the S-rank team was about to be devoured by the magic beasts, a giant sword suddenly pierced through the magic beast's head. The heroic figure wielding the giant sword was the Knight Igris. Knights usually accompany kings. That man had come to the rescue. Sung Jinwoo immediately summoned King Iron, having him use the skill group Taunt, attracting the hatred of all surrounding ant soldiers. Then he drew out the battle sword dropped by the Demon King and single-handedly charged into the ant swarm to engage in close combat. Meanwhile, Fong appeared in front of the team members, releasing a guardian shield to help them resist the ants' attacks. Seeing this, Ma Dongwook was stunned. He didn't know who was fighting the ants now, but Baek Yunho knew clearly because he had seen these shadow soldiers at the awakening ceremony. He firmly believed that Sung Jinwoo could successfully rescue everyone this time. The ant soldiers were no match for the shadow army. However, Sung Jinwoo still felt that clearing monsters was too slow. He looked at the ant corpses covering the ground. Arise. The next second, those dead ants successfully revived as shadow soldiers and began a deadly battle with the ants. This scene was all broadcast live. The people of Country H, who had fallen into despair after seeing the S-rank hunters' deaths, once again had hope burning in their eyes. At this moment, the entire country's fate was connected to Sung Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo on the battlefield soon broke through the ants' encirclement and came before the team members. He purchased healing potions from the shop to treat their injuries and restore their combat power. But Cha Haeun's internal organs had completely ruptured. The potions had no effect and her breathing was gradually weakening. They had to take Cha Haeun away from here to find a highly healer before more ants arrived. But just then, a terrifying magical wave attracted Sung Jinwoo's attention. The Ant King had returned. He angrily looked at everyone. There was no king outside. Do you have anyone here who can be called a king? Seeing the Ant King's figure, everyone immediately showed fear on their faces. Had Gotoruji also been defeated by him? Seeing this, Sung Jinwoo entrusted Cha Haein into Ma Dongwook and then strode toward the Ant King. I was wondering why Gotoruji's shadow signal was cut off. So you devoured him. After hearing this, the Ant King directly released the ability inherited from Gotoruji, unleashing all his magical power to suppress Sung Jinwoo. However, under the massive magical suppression, Sung Jinwoo's figure didn't move an inch, and there was even a slight smile on his lips. Meanwhile, upon learning that Gotoruji had been defeated, the president of country RS Hunter Association hurriedly had his subordinates check the Ant King's current location. The subordinate immediately responded that the Ant King had just reappeared in the Ant Queen's cave. Hearing this, the president angrily slammed his hand on the table because this meant that Country H's hunters were still alive. At this time, the subordinate discovered again. Just now, another magical power comparable to the Ant King's had appeared in the ant nest. Hearing this, the president trembled with anxiety and hurriedly had his subordinate open Country H's live broadcast. Meanwhile, President Gao Gunhai, who was watching the broadcast, was so excited, he almost jumped up because he believed that with Sung Jinwoo's strength, he could definitely defeat the Ant King. But the next second, the Ant King in the screen launched a fierce attack on Sung Jinwoo, his fist heavily smashing into his head. The ground beneath Sung Jinwoo's feet immediately began to collapse, causing a massive explosion. Cho Jong-in and Baek Yun-ho were both knocked away by the explosion, and they believed that with Sung Jinwoo's physical condition as a magic-type hunter, being hit at such close range by the Ant King meant certain death. After the smoke from the explosion cleared, the Ant King smiled contemptuously. Too weak. You're definitely not a king. But before he could finish speaking, everyone's pupils suddenly contracted. Because Sung Jinwoo, who had taken this hit, was still standing in front of the Ant King. He angrily spat out the blood in his mouth, then gathered magical power in his palm and used ruler's hand on the Ant King. In an instant, the Ant King's body rapidly flew towards Sung Jinwoo. His fist also swung out fiercely, heavily hitting the Ant King's head. Taking this hit, the Ant King's body shot backward like a meteor, directly piercing through the entire ant nest. Seeing the scene, everyone's jaws dropped. Was Hunter Sung Jinwoo really a magic type? At this time, Baek Yun-ho also gasped. He had been somewhat doubtful before, but he hadn't expected Sung Jinwoo to be so powerful. Before long, red light suddenly flashed from the smoke caused by the mountain collapse. And then the Ant King transformed into lightning and charged towards Sung Jinwoo. Seeing this scene, Sung Jinwoo showed an evil smile on his face. Very durable. Is it because of the exoskeleton protection? How annoying. In the blink of an eye, the Ant King's figure reached Sung Jinwoo's front. He clenched his fist and heavily smashed towards Sung Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo immediately raised his hand to block. This strike once again damaged the ground. At this moment, Sung Jinwoo also launched a counterattack, punching heavily into the Ant King's abdomen. The Ant King was not to be outdone. Both of their fists simultaneously hit each other's heads. With a cracking sound, the Ant King was completely stunned. His strength was actually being suppressed by a human. What was this guy's background? The two continued to collide with each other like this. Soon, the Ant King discovered that his exoskeleton was gradually falling off. He showed an expression of disbelief. How could his SS rank strength body be defeated by a mere human? Just as he was in a daze, Sung Jinwoo's figure had already rushed to his front, heavily punching his forehead. However, just as the Ant King was being knocked away, he stuck out his 10m long tongue, leaving a bloody mark on Sung Jinwoo's face. In an instant, Sung Jinwoo's speed began to rapidly decline, and he uncontrollably knelt on the ground. It turned out that the Ant King's tongue carried deadly poison, an ability inherited from a country RS rank hunter he had devoured. Seeing Sung Jinwoo fall, the Ant King leisurely walked to his front, raised his claw toward his head, and just as the attack was about to hit, Sung Jinwoo directly grabbed his wrist. The Ant King, whose attack was interrupted, was stunned for 2.5 seconds, and Sung Jinwoo took advantage of this moment to directly punch the Ant King away. The Ant King stood up in embarrassment. He never expected that a human would have poison immunity. Sung Jinwoo glanced at him. He seemed a bit happy just now. Was it because of this poison or because he felt his stats increase? At this moment, he could sense that the Ant King's emotions were somewhat agitated. At this time, the hunters behind shouted to Sung Jinwoo. It turned out that Cha Haein was dying. It seemed he had to end the battle quickly. Sung Jinwoo directly rushed to the Ant King's front and kicked him hard. But after the attack landed, the Ant King's figure vanished into thin air. For a moment, no one could sense the Ant King's presence because the Ant King had used Min Byung's camouflage skill to hide in the darkness. At this time, he realized that poison didn't work on Sung Jinwoo. And the Ant King also thought that his speciality was strength. Going head-to-head with him was just wasting time. The Ant King's real advantage was speed. As long as he shrunk his swollen body and concentrated everything on speed, he could definitely take down Sung Jinwoo. At this time, Sung Jinwoo also locked onto the Ant King's position and drew his short sword in an attacking stance. The confident Ant King struck first, clawing towards Sung Jinwoo's head. But the next second, his pupils dilated in shock because Sung Jinwoo had actually dodged his attack and instantly moved behind him, swinging his short sword down fiercely. The Ant King quickly used his claws to block. Just like that, the two continuously fought. The Ant King also discovered that Sung Jinwoo could not only keep up with his speed, but was getting faster and faster. Under Sung Jinwoo's continuous sword attacks, the Ant King's exoskeleton had already shattered into pieces. The battle would soon be over. Just as the Ant King cried out in pain, Sung Jinwoo seized his opening and immediately used the critical hit skill to stab toward the Ant King's body. Unexpectedly, under his continuous stabbing, the critical hit skill actually upgraded to barrage. Sung Jinwoo locked his gaze on the fleeing Ant King. He wanted to test this skill's power, so he directly released barrage toward the Ant King's back. In this instant, Sung Jinwoo seemed to have clones, his figure slashing at the Ant King's body from all directions, directly piercing through the Ant King's exoskeleton. At this moment, the Ant King looked at Sung Jinwoo with a life-questioning expression. He hadn't expected that whether in strength or speed, he would be completely crushed by Sung Jinwoo. But soon he remembered that as an insect race, he had an advantage that humans couldn't match. Numerical superiority. He angrily roared toward the sky. And in an instant, all the ant soldiers flew behind him. At the Ant King's command, the ant swarm charged towards Sung Jinwoo. But seeing this, Sung Jinwoo's figure remained motionless. The Ant King thought he was scared stupid and immediately mocked. "How about it, human? Are you ready to be trampled into meat paste by my ant army?" But before he could finish speaking, Sung Jinwoo grinned. "Compete with me in numbers? Fine, arise." Then, under the Ant King's shocked gaze, Sung Jinwoo summoned his Shadow Legion. The Shadow Warriors instantly charged into the ant swarm and began fighting with the ant army. Knight Igris cut down one ant with each strike. The three Beastmen generals also performed admirably, slicing through the ant swarm like cutting vegetables. But the main event wasn't on this side. At this time, Sung Jinwoo had already called Fong to his side. Fong directly used the Giant Song skill, making his body incredibly huge. Then, under the enhancement of the Greed Orb, he released a giant version of Dragon Song toward the ant swarm. The power of the strike directly pierced through the entire small island. The hunters watching from the side felt chills down their spines. Was this really a summon beast? Calling it a summon beast, how is it more like a demon king descending to Earth? Under the scorching of Dragon Song, the ant soldiers in the nest were soon burned to ashes. At this moment, the Ant King was still in a dazed state. He had been the strongest since birth. Able to stand at the peak and devour everything, able to grow infinitely as a king. But now, facing Sung Jinwoo before him, his heart had only one thought: to escape. He understood that if he wanted to survive, he had to quickly flee from this man. He immediately used Min Byung, Gyu's ability to heal his wounds, then fled toward the outside of the ant nest without looking back. But just then, a giant hand suddenly appeared above his head and slammed him hard to the ground. This was exactly the ruler's hand that Sung Jinwoo had released. At this moment, the Ant King looked up at Sung Jinwoo, who was like a demon. He immediately lost his will to fight and turned to flee again. But Sung Jinwoo wouldn't let him out to continue harming people. He immediately used barrage to slash toward the Ant King's back. The Ant King, having lost his exoskeleton protection, was brutally cut to death. Sung Jinwoo also received a notification that the enemy had been eliminated at this moment. At this time, Baek Yunho rushed to Sung Jinwoo's front because Cha Haeun's condition was very poor. After checking Cha Haeun's condition, Sung Jinwoo immediately frowned. They had to quickly find a healer. But Shadow Exchange was still on cooldown. And even if he rode a flying dragon to find a healer, Cha Haeun would probably be dead before then. Just as everyone was at a loss, Sung Jinwoo suddenly thought of a wicked method. He hurriedly ordered the nearby broadcasting hunter to turn off the camera, then had the shadow soldiers search for Min Byung, Gyu's corpse. Hearing this, Baek Yunho looked shocked, not understanding why he wanted to find his brother's corpse. Soon, the Beastman general brought Min Byung-gyu corpse to Sung Jinwoo's front. Sung Jinwoo looked at Min Byung-gyu on the ground. And sure enough, a prompt to extract his shadow appeared. If he wasn't pushed to the brink, he would never use this method or rise. But the next second, Sung Jinwoo received a notification that the extraction had failed. Sung Jinwoo was shocked. How is this possible? Then he began the second attempt, but the result was another failure. Sung Jinwoo didn't understand what was happening. With his current extraction ability, he should be able to easily extract his shadow. Could it be that his desire to stay away from battle was too strong? It seemed that turning humans into shadow soldiers really wasn't a good thing, but to save the dying Cha Hae-in. For the third time, he forcefully issued the command, "Arise." As soon as the words fell, Min Byung-gyu's body was swallowed by shadows. Seeing the scene, Baek Yun-ho slammed his hand hard on Sung Jin-woo's shoulder, questioning what he was going to do to his brother. But the next second, his pupils contracted sharply because Min Byung-gyu's figure had reappeared before him. The observation team nearby, seeing this incredible scene, broke out in cold sweat. Only now did they understand that Sung Jin-woo could use the power of the dead. At this time, Min Byung-gyu had already come to Cha Hae-in inside, continuously using healing magic to repair her shattered internal organs. At this moment, Baek Yun-ho still hadn't recovered from his shock. Sung Jin-woo spoke first. "I think I know what kind of person he was when alive. I haven't even given him orders, but he's already started treating Cha Hae-in in what a warm person." Hearing this, Baek Yun-ho also spoke painfully. He's no longer Min Byung-gyu. Sung Jin-woo didn't deny it. The hunter who was live streaming earlier now understood why Sung Jin-woo had asked him to turn off the camera, because this kind of power must never be revealed to the public. Cho Jong also looked at Sung Jin-woo with a serious expression. The more intense the battle became, the stronger his power grew. This power was too astonishing. At this moment, Baek Yun-ho suddenly spoke up. He told Sung Jin-woo that Min Byung-gyu had been someone who really hated fighting when he was alive. So he hoped that Sung Jin-woo wouldn't make him participate in battles anymore. After hearing this, Sung Jin-woo brushed away Baek Yun-ho's hand that was resting on his shoulder, then looked at Baek Yun-ho. "This is the second time you've put your hand on my shoulder. But this time, you're not giving me orders. You're genuinely asking me." After saying this, he walked leisurely toward Min Byung-gyu and directly canceled the shadow extraction on him. His thoughts aligned with Baek Yun-ho's. Then Min Byung-gyu looked at everyone one last time with a smile before dispersing into the air. After eliminating the Ant King, Sung Jin-woo escorted everyone out of the ant nest while he chose to stay behind because the battle wasn't completely over yet. There were still many remnants for Sung Jin-woo to deal with. In an instant, Sung Jin-woo summoned the Flying Dragon Kaiser, charging toward the remaining ant army. Soon, Sung Jin-woo had once again fought his way into the ant nest, eliminating all the unhatched ants as well. Meanwhile, at the Hunter Management Bureau headquarters in the United States, the director was repeatedly playing the combat footage of Sung Jin-woo fighting the ants. Then asked his assistant beside him, "How's the investigation into Sung Jin-woo's background going?" The assistant placed a stack of documents in front of the director, revealing that Sung Jin-woo was also connected to the Management Bureau explosion incident from a few months ago. The culprit behind the explosion, Sung Tu-hwan and Sung Jin-woo, were actually father and son. After reading through the documents, the director gave his assistant a task to recruit him to the United States at any cost. While other countries hadn't even figured out Sung Jin-woo's name yet, because in the director's view, Sung Jin-woo's power might have already reached national-level authority standards. On the other side, Sung Jin-woo came to the Ant King's corpse. This powerful aura filled him with admiration. Then he spoke the command, "Arise." In an instant, the Ant King's shadow began to collapse, surrounding Sung Jin-woo completely. Sung Jin-woo was startled by the sight. Surrounded by darkness, he couldn't feel anything and he thought the shadow extraction had failed. But the next second, a confused voice came from behind him. "How did I come back again?" Sung Jin-woo turned around and there stood the Ant King's figure. At the same time, the notification of successful shadow extraction appeared. Upon seeing Sung Jin-woo's gaze, the Ant King immediately knelt down. As Sung Jin-woo examined his attributes, he pondered for a moment because a general level rank had appeared that he'd never seen before. This meant his power was so great that the previous soldiers couldn't even compare to him. Then Sung Jin-woo turned and walked toward the Ant King. But at that moment, the Ant King's voice came from behind. "My king, please give me a name." Sung Jin-woo glanced at him. It seemed this guy had absolute loyalty like the other soldiers. Then he asked why he could speak. The Ant King stammered in reply. "I could speak before becoming a soldier, so I can speak now too." Wait. King Iron was once human, but after becoming a shadow, he couldn't speak. Hunter Min Byung-gyu and Fong were the same way. The only difference between them is their rank. It seems if the other soldiers' levels increase, they might be able to speak too. Sung Jin-woo studied the Ant King carefully. "I am the one who killed you. Even so, are you willing to follow me?" After hearing this, the Ant King replied, "I didn't die, but was reborn as your power. Now my heart is filled with joy. I will follow my lord forever." Then he once again begged Sung Jin-woo to give him a name. Sung Jin-woo thought for a moment. "I'll call you Baru." Upon hearing this, Baru lowered his head. "My king's grace is boundless." After the naming was complete, Sung Jin-woo walked over to the Queen Ant. "Arise, another general soldier." But strangely, after the Queen Ant was successfully extracted, the power of those ant soldiers suddenly weakened. Sung Jinwoo asked Baru what was happening. Also, why was this queen ant's magic power so weak? Baru respectfully explained after hearing this. Controlling the ant army is an innate ability of the queen ant. As long as the queen is present, the ant army will still be under her command. Moreover, most of the queen's magic power is used for reproductive activities and cannot be carried out without a physical body. Sung Jinwoo understood after hearing this. In other words, the queen ant is not suitable for combat. So, he directly cancelled the extraction of the queen ant's shadow. An organization doesn't need two leaders. The next problem was the scattered ants on the island. He asked Baru whether he could annihilate them all with his current forces. Baru indicated that he could sense the enemies had lost their formation after losing their leader and were constantly fleeing in all directions. There were about 4,000 still alive. Sung Jinwoo sighed after hearing this. He originally thought he had eliminated quite a few in the previous battle, but unexpectedly there were still so many left. He immediately asked Baru, "Can you destroy them all?" Baru stepped forward 2 steps after hearing this. "My lord, just give me your command." Meanwhile, in the outside world, the human fleet was constantly under attack from the ants. The hunters joined forces to fight against the ants. But unfortunately, there were simply too many ants just when they were about to be swallowed by the ant swarm. The figure of Ant King Barrow rushed over like lightning. Wherever his figure passed, all the ants were torn in half. Thus, the southern forces conducted a 2-day and 2-night sweep against the ants. The constantly fleeing ants actually flew toward Country Z's waters. But the ants never would have thought that waiting for them there was Lu Jigang, a hunter even stronger than Sung Jinwoo. He was enveloped in blazing flames, then drew a short sword from behind and directly slashed a flaming cross-strike at the ant swarm in the air. In an instant, violent explosions continuously occurred in the sky, and those ants turned into fragments and fell into the sea. With just one move, he eliminated all the ant soldiers. Lu Jigang sheathed his short sword upon seeing this. Thinking that if he wasn't dealing with these small fries, but facing the Ant King that fought Sung Jinwoo, that would be somewhat interesting. Meanwhile, in Country M's Scavenger Guild, a man was also continuously playing the battle footage of Sung Jinwoo and the Ant King. He was Andre, the leader of the Scavenger Guild, and he also knew that Huang Dong-soo and Sung Jinwoo had a blood feud between them. At this time, his assistant beside him asked what he would do if these two started fighting. Andre's face immediately showed a fierce expression after hearing this. Hunter Huang is the Scavenger Guild's property and the Scavenger Guild is mine. As he spoke, he angrily crushed the remote control in his hand. He would never forgive anyone who touched his things, not even the Country M government. 3 days quickly passed. All the ants on Jeju Island had been dealt with. The Hunter Association arranged collection teams to come and gather materials. But just as they were preparing to work, they were suddenly startled by the scene before them. A mysterious man walked out from the depths of the ant nest. But there shouldn't be anyone on Jeju Island now except the collection team. They quickly drew their weapons and aimed at the man, questioning who he was. However, what the man said was beast language that no one could understand. Just as the team members were shocked, a snapping sound suddenly came, and in the next second, a powerful magic wave swept over everyone. All the team members immediately collapsed. It turned out that an elder behind the man had released a skill that made everyone at the scene temporarily fall asleep. The man viciously told the elder that it was confirmed to be that man's doing. The elder's face immediately darkened after hearing this. He really didn't know why he wanted to help these people, but the hunt would proceed according to the original plan. After saying this, he created a teleportation portal with his bare hands, preparing to leave. At this time, the man called out to the elder. "By the way, there's a guy who seems to have arrived here already. Since we're already here, let's deal with that guy before leaving." The elder just paused for a moment after hearing this. "I'll leave this area to you." After saying this, he entered the teleportation gate and left the place. After the elder left, the man's gaze immediately became sharp. What a coward. But I don't need to look for trouble either. After saying this, he stomped out a red teleportation gate and disappeared from here. After successfully conquering Jeju Island, Sung Jinwoo had become a big star, a hero in the eyes of the entire nation. However, there were inevitably critical voices, saying that if he had participated in the Jeju Island conquest operation from the beginning, perhaps Hunter Min Byung-gyu wouldn't have sacrificed his life. On this day, all the hunters in Country H attended Min Byung-gyu's memorial service. Sung Jinwoo looked at Min Byung-gyu's grieving family nearby and couldn't help feeling a bit dejected. However, at this time, Baek Yunho walked to Sung Jinwoo's side. "Lift your head up, Hunter Sunday. You're the one who put an end to this tragedy. Thank you for saving this country." Just as Sung Jinwoo was about to comfort Baek Yunho, he suddenly met the gaze of Cha Hae-in nearby. After less than a second of eye contact, Cha Hae-in blushed and lowered her head. Sung Jinwoo was completely confused upon seeing this. Could it be that Miss Cha didn't drink hot water today and isn't feeling well? After the memorial service ended, Sung Jinwoo expressed his desire to establish a guild to Chairman Gao. Chairman Gao agreed immediately without any hesitation after hearing this. But then he asked Sung Jinwoo whether he had set up any barriers or similar things on Jew Island because the crisis hunters he sent to clean up the ant corpses had collectively lost consciousness there and couldn't remember what happened before when they woke up. Sung Jinwoo immediately denied this after hearing it and could only temporarily assume it might have been a trap set by the ants. After handling the matter, Sung Jinwoo left the place to go home. Unexpectedly, at this time, he was stopped by a stranger. The person immediately identified himself as personnel from Country M's Hunter Management Bureau and said his purpose for coming was to bring Sung Jinwoo some classified intelligence to show sufficient sincerity. He could give Sung Jinwoo an opportunity to awaken the magic power in his body again and become a reawakener. Sung Jinwoo curiously followed them to the hotel, wanting to see what they were really up to. Unexpectedly, as soon as they arrived, the Country M, Hunter Management Bureau's deputy director placed immigration documents in front of Sung Jinwoo. Originally, these materials would take 1 to 2 years to complete, but they had made sufficient preparations to recruit Sung Jinwoo. He could become a Country M citizen 1 second after signing the agreement. Sung Jinwoo's face immediately darkened after hearing this. I came here because Adam's staff said there was intelligence to tell me, specifically about those reawakeners who can make hunters undergo second awakening. The deputy director smiled after hearing this and directly had his subordinate invite Miss Norma Selner. Soon after, Miss Selner came before everyone. Sung Jinwoo carefully observed the magic power around her. This aura was indeed different from ordinary awakeners. After seeing Sung Jinwoo's suspicious expression, Miss Selner immediately introduced her ability. You also know that the limits of all awakeners in this world are predetermined from birth. If they don't undergo second awakening, their awakening level can never break through. And my ability is to forcibly stimulate an awakener's potential, break through limits, and achieve second awakening. The deputy director stated that everything Miss Selner said was true, but she needed to rest for a long time after each use of this ability. So, only 3 or 4 people could receive this benefit each year. Sung Jinwoo was very surprised after hearing this. If all this was true, then this ability was indeed heaven-defying. He then asked, how much improvement does second awakening provide? Miss Selner indicated that each person's situation was different, but after her 3-stage potential stimulation, they could at least gain 20 to 30% more power. Sung Jinwoo was shocked after hearing this. 20 to 30% more power. No wonder Huang Dong-soo was willing to immigrate to Country M despite being cursed by the entire nation. Any hunter would be unable to refuse this. At this time, the deputy director told Sung Jinwoo that Miss Selner's ability was a welcome gift for him. They were very confident that once he experienced this feeling once, he would never be able to leave again. The deputy director immediately asked Sung Jinwoo if he was willing to break through his limits. Sung Jinwoo muttered to himself, it seems he's very confident. Might as well experience it once. He immediately placed his palm in Miss Selner's hand. Seeing this, the deputy director grinned. He was certain he had Sung Jinwoo in his grasp. Maybe after this was over, he would sign the documents on the spot. At this moment, Miss Selner's ability had already activated the transmission gate that even the national power level Go-to-Ruji failed to conquer. He had successfully conquered with an unheard of ability. She was very curious about where Sung Jinwoo's limits would be, but in the next second, Miss Selner felt herself being enveloped by a powerful magic force. She curiously looked up and saw a figure whose face couldn't be clearly seen appear in the air. Then that figure appeared in front of her, angrily shouting 3 words at her, "Ji out." In an instant, Miss Selner clutched her head and began wailing continuously. Seeing this, the subordinates immediately drew their guns and aimed at Sung Jinwoo. The deputy director quickly stopped their behavior upon seeing this. If they angered an S-rank hunter, everyone present would die. The subordinates quickly lowered their weapons and checked on Ms. Owner's condition after hearing this. The deputy director also hurriedly bowed and apologized to Sung Jinwoo. At this time, Sung Jinwoo was still completely confused. What the hell was going on? The deputy director hurriedly inquired about Miss Selner's condition. She was continuously breaking out in cold sweat, and her body was trembling nonstop, helplessly. The deputy director could only say that Miss Selner wasn't in good physical condition today, and that he would contact Sung Jinwoo again later. After Sung Jinwoo left, the deputy director asked Miss Selner what exactly happened. Miss answered with a terrified expression, "He is a king and a very powerful king." The deputy director was immediately shocked upon hearing this. "Do you mean his strength is equivalent to national power level?" Miss Selner shook her head. This was the first time she had encountered such a situation. Although he was a king, he was different from ordinary kings. While she was peering into Sung Jinwoo, there was also a force watching her. That force didn't come from Mr. Sung Jinwoo, but from the endless darkness within him. Then, Miss Selner said her final words in terror. Mr. Sung Jinwoo has no limits at all. At this time, the completely unaware Sung Jinwoo was also confused after leaving the building. That person must have seen something. Could it be traces of the system? What exactly was she afraid of? Just then, a phone ringing brought Sung Jinwoo's thoughts back. It was Chairman Gunhai. A B-rank gate had appeared in the middle of the road, and he wanted Sung Jinwoo to deal with it. Sung Jinwoo asked in confusion, "Don't I need a conquest permit?" Chairman Gao laughed and replied, "Mr. Sun wouldn't have forgotten where conquest permits are issued, would he?" Sung Jinwoo immediately realized after hearing this that Gao Gunhai, who was talking to him, was the association chairman. "Then I won't be polite." After hanging up, Sung Jinwoo immediately came to the gate. His figure immediately attracted the crowd's attention. They never expected that an S-rank hunter would personally come to conquer a gate. But the moment Sung Jinwoo entered the gate, shock appeared on everyone's faces at the scene because the gate's color had actually turned red. At this time, Sung Jinwoo was speechless after entering the dungeon. He didn't understand why every gate he conquered would have accidents. But with his current strength, a red gate posed no threat to him at all. He immediately summoned his shadow army, preparing to end the battle within a day. These dungeon monsters were nothing in front of Sung Jinwoo. And that's a wrap. A quick like would be awesome if you enjoyed the video. YouTube analytics show that many viewers watch videos without subscribing. Subscribing greatly helps the channel, and the goal of 100 subscribers is near. Consider pressing the subscribe button to show support.